Welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Pretty good. I am anticipating and nervous and excited.
So, today I was tweeting about the fact that we've started monetizing some of our YouTube videos, so they show ads, and kind of asking people what they think about that, because I don't want it to be super annoying, but I do want to take Google's money. And some people were like, oh, I listened to some of the old snaps to fall asleep. And I was like, cool, we can unmonetize the old snaps because, the vast majority of the views are on the new snaps. And then someone was like, I was waiting in line to get vaccinated at like a mass vaccination site. And I spent 3 hours in my car, like snaking through the line, listening to old podcasts. And I was like, dear Dad, we need to make a 3-hour podcast for people who are waiting in line at mass vaccination sites to get their vaccine. So this podcast is going to be uninteresting and meaningless, but it's going to be good background noise if you want to fall asleep to the sound of our voices, or if you're stuck in your car for 3 hours at a vaccination site. It's going to be intentionally rambly. We're going to talk about whatever we want. There will be no dog updates. There will be no cocktail of the week that we're on our second pitcher of sangria.
Totally unrelated to this plan.
It may describe the quality of this plan.
In other words, it's the podcast I would always make if you let me with your censorship.
Your dad's like, but you always like it has to be interesting. I'm like, not this one. This one doesn't have to be interesting.
I always think uninteresting and long is better than interesting and short.
So I thought to guide us through this uninteresting podcast that we can totally vary from this, I looked up a internet list of questions to ask people on a first date, some of which would make things my last date if someone asked me these questions.
Okay.
But we could go through some of these. I'm going to skip
it's
the
better than like which Hogwarts house are you because you're not into Harry Potter, for example.
That could be on this list, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not into Harry Potter. And frankly, with everything that has emerged about J.K. Rowling, I'm sort of extra glad I'm not into Harry Potter.
There's a whole philosophical debate about that, yep.
There sure is. I have mixed feelings on it, actually.
Well, do you punish the artist for the art, blah, blah, blah.
I really liked her Robert Galbraith books, like her mystery books. And her whole transphobic stuff came out right before her latest Robert Galbraith book. And I had pre-ordered the latest Robert Galbraith book, and I can't even listen to it. Maybe it just sucks. Maybe I just can't deal with her anymore. But
I think there's more, she's more like aggressively transphobic and sexist in some of these later Galbraith things too.
GR Mom is bisexual, and we are allies of the whole LGBTQ community.
Totally.
Trans women are women.
J.K. Rowling's an idiot. Fucking should just shut the hell up.
If you don't like that, you can go ahead and unfollow us. Okay.
Yes. Unlike us. Fine. I don't care.
Okay.
Hey, I didn't say it would be interesting. I just said it'd be long.
That's right.
That's what she said. All right.
Oh, my goodness. Who's the most fascinating person you've met other than me?
Oh, my God. That leaves me no one.
I knew that's what you would say.
Crap.
Have you met any, like, interesting people?
Fascinating people?
Fascinating is the word.
I think my high school roommate Drew was fascinating.
Oh, that's interesting. He was an interesting. He's not dead. He is an interesting guy.
He's a very interesting guy. A guy who's like inspirational in many ways, and just in some ways doing stuff that I'm not going to do, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
Homeschooled on a goat farm in California by hippie parents. Went to Harvard with me. Was my roommate for a few years. And then went to Harvard Med School while living out of a van.
Yeah. Homeless. One would call that homeless.
One might.
Intentionally, though. That was by choice. Like, he probably could have got an apartment, but chose to live in his van.
He has money. Yeah, I mean, he had loans then and debts. But, like, spent a year. He got a Rockefeller scholarship and spent a year driving around the Sahara Desert studying goats in Mali.
Yeah.
In a van that he outfitted himself with his then girlfriend / wife. And he's always just done whatever the hell he wants, and he's been really good at it. And he's a great guy. I respect him hugely, but he's on a completely different path for me. He's fascinating.
He's a medical doctor now, is that right?
He is an emergency surgeon.
Yeah.
Emergency room surgeon, yeah.
I went to college with a guy like this who we were in Model UN together, and he, it's interesting in academia. I just backtracked on myself like 3 times there. It's interesting in academia that there are a lot of people who come from backgrounds of privilege, which I see especially now as a faculty member, because I'm very conscious, like I worked 40 hours a week at the end of my undergrad. I always worked as an undergrad, and it was kind of 10, 15 hours a week my first year, and then it was like 20, which was like the upper limit, and then people were signing off on stuff. So I was working 40 hours a week and going to school full-time at the University of Chicago my 3rd and 4th years. The hustle was very real to me, and my parents paid my tuition, right? So it's not like, I wouldn't have been able to afford my tuition at University of Chicago. It's very expensive, but I was paying for everything else. Like I was paying for my rent and my groceries and like all of my expenses. I didn't get an allowance or anything. And I very much respect the hustle. And,
Right.
it's a lovely gift that my parents paid my tuition, but I'm aware that there's also a lot of students whose parents don't pay their tuition. And, my parents helped me out with some things when I was in graduate school, but I wasn't, if you're in the academic track, you're not paying tuition when you're a graduate student, right? You have a small stipend, which is not enough to cover your living expenses, but it's something, right? Your tuition's paid for, you have health insurance, and you get a small stipend for the year. But I note that I have students who are, especially being at the University of Maryland is really interesting, that there's a lot of students who are like first generation students, like their families can't afford to send them to school.
Right.
And so they're working to pay their tuition and pay their living expenses and sometimes support their families. Like I'm super aware of this, and among my graduate students, like super aware that like, okay, you're a PhD student, but you also are doing other stuff because you have to pay rent and you have to pay bills and you have to survive, and like sometimes you're married and your spouse isn't making that much money.
Just sitting around like being a PhD student seems very sort of Victorian. Like I'm just thinking all day. I'm philosophizing all day.
Yeah.
I just think deep thoughts. Like that doesn't seem like the reality of most PhD candidates or many academics.
A lot of students who are like that, whose parents just have money and they pay their rent and they send them a allowance every week or every month to pay their bills, and so they can go out and like.
Jeez. Then it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It's different.
I mean, undergrads too, right? Who, they're just not like paying their bills, and I mean, more power to them, right? Like, I don't think you're morally bad if your parents are gonna like make your life easier like that. But and look, not to discount the fact that my parents paid a ton of money for my tuition, but like I'm aware of like having to hustle to pay your bills. And when I was in grad school, I was married to my first husband who was not reliably working and had a ton of bills. Like I was the breadwinner for the household, and any money that he made went to pay the debts that he had when we got married. So like I was the one making the money to pay the rent and pay the electricity and all of that. And that's all to say that like having gone to the University of Chicago for my undergrad and master's and then getting into a PhD program, you encounter a lot of students who come from these backgrounds where they have like super rich parents, or
wealthy,
wealthier parents who are able to support them. But one of the guys I went to undergrad with had a similar kind of upbringing to Drew, I think, where like he worked in sewage treatment for a while,
cool.
Something you never hear from undergrads.
Yeah.
And when he was in I graduated from undergrad in 99. So 95 to 99 is when I was an undergrad. I think this guy was a couple years ahead of me, right? So I was in elementary school like in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when Jared Dad was in college. And so this guy was a couple years older than me. When he was in like late elementary school, his parents took him out of school, or his dad, and they went on an around the world boat
Oh, that's
trip.
Cool.
And
like a sailboat or a yacht? Or a cruise?
I think it was like a sailboat.
Wow.
And at some point, their sailboat crossed into Soviet waters because there was a Soviet Union, and they got stopped by like some Soviet battleship So it's like this teeny tiny, like 3-person sailboat sailing around the world.
Oh my God.
And then this like giant Soviet ship like stopping them because they crossed into Soviet waters without permission.
And the Russians like, you're spies, probably like.
Yeah. I mean, they got out of whatever it was, but it sounds like he had one of these similar, just sort of like sort of hippie upbringings. I mean, it's not quite like hippie, like you're on a commune farm kind of thing, but similar kind of thing. I loved this guy. It was like, you have to work to make your money, right? Your parents are like doing super interesting stuff that's like so good for you as a thinker and a human, but they don't have a ton of money. And you're going to work whatever jobs you're going to get and do interesting stuff. I mean, he was a very cool person to.
My friend had a conflict though. I mean, he was sticking it to the man pretty happily, and he.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's like, his whole thing was he had 3 siblings, so 3 of them got into Harvard College, like all homeschooled, and the parents were like on the Today Show. They did like a whole circuit and were like famous, and so he was somewhat of a minor celebrity, right?
Right.
As that, but he was also like, he believed in the power of credit, debt, right?
Yeah.
But when we were in college, he'd like sign up. This is a thing. This is totally dating. This is a boomer thing, right? He signed up for all the Columbia House.
Oh my God, I totally did this.
Yeah, everybody did in the 80s and 90s.
So let me pause and explain for our everybody who's younger than us.
This is such a good scam.
So there was a thing, right? There was no digital music. If you wanted music, you had to buy the album. Was it CDs when you were doing it, or was it tapes?
It was tapes into CDs, I think. I think it was moving into CDs, but it was certainly you could get tapes.
So you couldn't just like download a song, right?
No, this is very recent, the downloading. Yeah.
No, and like bands would put out singles, but they cost almost as much as the whole album. So you would buy the whole album when your favorite band put out a new thing. But there were these music clubs. BMG is the one that I did.
Columbia House was a big one.
House.
Yeah.
So you could sign up, and if you signed up, you would get like
10 free.
10 free. So whatever, you pay for 1, and then you get 10 free.
Yep.
And then you could cancel it.
Yep.
And so if you signed up with like different
or they wouldn't bill you until you gotten the 10 free.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways to approach this. You did the legal thing.
You could sell the ones that you got at the used record stores, and they'd be like brand new, right? So you'd get like $3 per CD or something.
Oh yeah.
So you get like $30. This is a lot of money when you were a broke undergrad in the 90s.
Totally.
I totally did this. I mean, I probably the vast majority of my small CD collection came from BMG, from like signing up to.
See, you did it the legal way.
What did he do?
He just ordered them and never paid. He would just like get the 10 free records or cassettes or DVDs. They may have been CDs at the time. And then just like ignore everything else. And he'd always put it under a false name, like a slightly false name. It'd be like, instead of Smith, it'd be Smythe or Smythe with an E or Smithy with 2 E's and an EY. And he'd be like, that's not me. I don't know how you got this address. And they're like, well, where are the 10 free CDs that you ordered? And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He would just totally either ignore or deflect. And he would just be like, I got a ton. I mean, he must have gotten hundreds of CDs for that. And he still probably has it stocked from that.
I mean, I definitely, like, I would get my favorite bands and listen to them and then sell them to the used record store.
See, selling them but he was just basically like, these record company, this Columbia House place is a freaking racket, and screw those guys.
Well, I mean, that's true. The whole thing was such a racket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hilarious. I'll have to look it up. At some point in this 3-hour podcast, I'll give you the name. But on TikTok, I have followed this lawyer in Chicago who does debt collection law, who's a fascinating follow. He does really, really good videos. And he talks about like what you would do, like if a company were to come after you for not paying a bill like that. I'll find his name.
Yeah, which is limited, and you can fight back.
Yeah. He's like, if
it's
they call you, you have to say this, and this. That's right. And they owe you a letter by this time, and they have to prove that you're this person. And if they don't produce it, then they owe you money. Yeah. And you can call a lawyer, and they'll do this. It's very interesting.
Don't be intimidated by debt collectors. There's a whole Fair Debt Collection Act Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that very much limits what people can do to screw you on debts, but they won't admit that on the calls, and they will try to scare you.
If they call you, this is the thing that this guy said, if you get a call from a debt collector, you just say, don't call me again. I want all further communications in writing. And then they're not allowed to call you again. And if they call you again after that, it's a violation. It counts as harassment under the Fair Debt Collection Protection Act.
Yeah.
And they owe you like $1,000 every time they call you.
That's right.
And so if you're tired of them calling you, all you have to do is like say that all future communications have to be in writing, and then they're not allowed to call you again. And if they do, they owe you money.
There's a whole problem in American society where there are clear rules, and the people in power just ignore the rules and hope that people don't know them.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
See also the police and these everything, the companies, right?
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to get your law education from TikTok. At the same time, there are some very good lawyers on TikTok telling you what to do in kind of normal life situations.
Don't talk to the cops.
Yeah.
Don't admit anything to anyone, period.
It's like, officer, am I free to go? And if the answer is yes, you go. And if it's not, you say,
why am I being detained?
Why am I being detained? And I plead the fifth. And where is my lawyer? I mean, never talk to the cops without a lawyer.
Never talk to the cops.
Just say, I'm not talking to you without a lawyer. Every cop would tell you this. If you're just like asking a cop casually for advice, don't talk to the cops without a lawyer. Get a lawyer.
It makes it so easy for them because most criminals just confess. They're just like, yeah, I shot him. But I had a good reason, and then you're already in jail, and it doesn't matter what the good reason is. You're in jail. There's
lots of people who don't commit crimes who confess because the cops will talk at you for 8 hours.
Oh, well, that's the whole thing, right? Or beat you with a pipe, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even if they're not, like the psychological pressure of being questioned for 8 hours, like don't do that. Ask for a lawyer. You have a right to a lawyer, and you should exercise that right.
And then shut up.
Nothing bad will happen to you. There's a great like pair of lawyers on Twitter, and their whole thing is like, the cops are talking to you, and the other guy's like, shut the fuck up.
It is amazing to me. I'm a civil attorney, not a criminal attorney.
Yeah.
The awkward silence is the best friend of the police, the prosecutor, the plaintiff, the attorney who's trying to get you to like just asking a question. And then even if you get an answer, if you just quiet for a while, you can really get... The other person wants to fill that silence and wants to keep talking and wants to be your friend. I mean, all the
uncomfortable.
All the human instincts are are in play when the police is talking to you, right? You're across the table for a police officer. They ask you a question, and you should
just shut the fuck up.
And you give an answer. And they either look like they're displeased or disappointed in you, or they think there's more there. They don't even have to say anything. And then you like try to explain, and then you dig a hole, then you dig deeper, and then you dig a hole. And then at some point you're in trouble.
Yeah. Ask for a lawyer. I'm not even like on the super far end of anti-cop. I mean, actually I'm pretty far, but I'm not all the way, but still. Ask for a fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the cops without a lawyer.
Here's the thing. If you haven't done anything, shut the fuck up. If you've committed the murder, confess. Fine. If you've done it, confess. It's better for society. Just fess up and say, look, I had a bad, I like fucking freaked out and I shot all these people. Then it's easier for the system. That's the system supposed to work. But if you didn't do anything, don't say anything.
Look, so when I was finishing my master's degree and applying for PhD programs, I didn't know if I was going to get into PhD programs. I didn't get into any PhD programs when I applied out of undergrad because my GPA was so bad. And
stupid Chicago.
The University of Chicago, well, I changed majors my fourth year. So when I was applying, I had like one programming class that I had actually finished and I had a C in it. So the University of Chicago let me into their PhD program with the agreement that I would leave with my master's and I would teach a lot for them, which worked out great. It was sort of exploitative on one hand. On the other hand, I got exactly what I wanted.
I mean, you didn't sleep for 4 years, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, two years for the master's. But
seemed like 4 years because you didn't sleep.
It sure did.
You put in enough hours for 4 years.
It was very hard. And I did much better in the master's degree since I had time to do it as opposed to doing the whole degree in 1 year like I did with undergrad. But I didn't know if I was going to get into grad school. So I was like, okay, I'm applying to these grad schools, but I better apply for some jobs also, because if I don't get into grad school, I have to do something. So I also applied to the NSA, who is very enthusiastic, still to this day, 20 years later, very enthusiastic about having me come work with them. And so I interviewed for a position as a crypt analyst, which is a code breaker at the NSA. They decided to hire me.
It's totally your jam.
I would have been great.
They
in
would
that
still
job.
be lucky to have you today. Yeah.
They know that every time I go, the NSA is based in Fort Meade, Maryland, which is pretty close to College Park. It's pretty close to where we live. And so I go give talks there all the time because they have academics come in and talk about stuff. I just did a virtual one with them, but normally I go do them in person. And every time I end up in somebody's office going like, so would you be interested in coming to work at the NSA? And I'm like, no, bitch, I would not. 9 to 5 sounds terrible to me. But yeah, every time I go, they still try to recruit me. So anyway, I applied, this is when I was finishing my master's, I applied for a crypt analyst job, a codebreaker job. They offered me the job, and then you need a top secret security clearance, obviously. I had a clearance before, but the NSA has special stuff with their clearance. So I had to get a polygraph as part of the clearance. I've got just the squeakiest, cleanest record. I've never been arrested. I have never taken any illegal drugs.
I know, you don't even think it's fun. You don't even think being drunk is fun.
I don't even like hanging out with people who are smoking pot. Like, I've never smoked pot.
I'm sorry, you don't even think being drunk is fun.
No, I don't.
It's super fun.
That only happened once by accident, and it was
you
terrible.
should try it. It's fun.
I tried it by once on accident, and it was terrible.
You overshot.
That was so bad. But yeah, I mean, I'm like squeaky clean. But I also get super anxious when I'm being questioned about if I have done something bad. So my NSA polygraph took like 8 hours. I was failing on my name.
Well, that's consistent. That's good. That's smart.
They give you...
Spy.
They're like,
Spy.
Is your name Jennifer Goldbeck? So they strap a thing like around your rib cage that measures respiration. It's like a cord, like a spirally cord, kind of like an old phone cord, or like you have that you put around your wrist, like with your keys.
The phone cord, yeah.
Yeah, you need to be closer to the mic, dear Dad.
Phone cord. I was laughing, so I was, didn't want to subject anyone to
So that goes around your rib cage, and it measures your respiration, basically, or how you're breathing, because your chest expands when you breathe.
It's like a 1930s medical experiment.
And then they got things that go on your fingers that measure if you're sweating
Oh,
through your palms or through your hands, right?
I would fail.
And so they'd be like, and it's all yes or no questions. It's not like you see on TV.
You
where
can't
it's
explain.
Like, tell me about the last time you saw this person. They don't ask that. It's all yes or no.
Oh my God. So you can't explain.
No explaining.
It's like, when did you stop beating your wife? Yes or no?
Did you stop beating your wife? That's what they would ask you. You'd be like,
That's a trick question.
but I was failing on like, is your name Jennifer Goldbeck? I would fail. I would fail before I spoke. They'd be like, is your name Jennifer Goldbeck? And then the thing would like, pew, shoot way up like she's lying. I haven't even said an answer yet.
That's how a spy would take it, though. That's good.
I mean, we did that. The guy would like ask me the baseline questions, and then he'd ask me whatever the other questions were, which were like super intrusive. Like, how many people you've had sex with? It's a yes or no question, but it's like, whatever.
More than 5, yeah.
I mean, you tell them on a form ahead of time, right? You fill out a form. How many sexual partners have you had? They do this. The idea behind this is not so much that they care how many sexual partners that you've had. I mean, maybe you hit some number where they're like, yeah, that seems a little sketchy. I don't know. I didn't hit that number.
No, because you're squeaky clean.
I mean, I'm not that squeaky clean.
Pretty clean.
So it's not so much that they care, you've had 50 sex partners. What they care is someone going to blackmail you about this? So if you go like, there's no way the NSA is going to hire me. If I tell them I've had 50 sex partners, I'm going to tell them I've had 5.
Right.
And someone knows that you've had 50, and then they come to you and they're like, you're going to tell me the state secrets, or else I'm going to tell your employer that you have had all these sex partners and they're going to fire you, or you're maybe going to go to jail. And you go, oh crap, I'm going to go to jail. Then, you become a security risk if you have lied if your job doesn't know. Where if you told the NSA, I've had 50 sex partners, and then somebody comes in and they're like, if you don't give me the state secrets, I'm going to tell the NSA you have 50 sex partners. Like, fuck you, I already told them, right? That's
Totally.
the thing that they care about with a lot of this. And now there's certainly, things that, and this is like in the news now, right? There's like this story that's like the Biden White House is like telling people who smoked pot that they have to work at home or they're rescinding their job offers. And it's like, I guess the Biden White House
have
could
to work from home. Like that's the bad thing.
Well, their clearances aren't being granted. The story is a little convoluted, but basically their clearances aren't being granted, so they can't. If you don't have a security clearance, you can't be physically in an area that requires a security clearance. If you do this, which I have done on occasion, like my clearance isn't active now, but I go to some classified facilities to give talks. And so they turn these big red lights on the ceiling, the red light emoji. It's just like that. They're on the ceiling.
What?
Yeah. Those, and that means don't talk about anything classified.
Jen's here.
Someone
Jen's
here.
Jen's here.
So, they talk about classified stuff in the White House. And so if you work at the White House, you can't be in those classified spaces unless you have an active clearance.
Oh my God, this has to be like such new information for everyone at the White House who was there under the past administration.
I mean, a lot of them couldn't get clearances either. And
because they were actually spies.
So like Trump got some of his relatives like pushed their clearances through, though they didn't actually qualify for them. The story now is like, the Biden White House isn't giving, is telling people that they have to work from home if they smoked pot before. But like, that's actually because like it's illegal to smoke pot under federal law. And there's not an exemption in your security clearance for breaking federal law to get the clearance. And like some places totally give you a pass on having smoked pot because so many people have.
Right.
But other places don't. Like the FBI, it's quite hard to get a clearance, if you're going to be a special agent in the FBI with pot in your background. It's, it's easier now than it was like in the 70s. But so that's basically what it is. And so it's not just, is your employer going to get, are you a security risk? There's also like, okay, you broke a federal law, even though like the pot smoking is not a big one. That's the rule that they're still trying to figure out in a lot of places.
So you suck at polygraphs.
In any case, the point of this was, I suck at polygraphs. I spent 8 hours with this guy having done nothing illegal because like my brain sucks with a polygraph. And so if you get arrested and they're like, maybe we should just give you a lie detector, man, it doesn't matter if you did the crime or not.
Take it.
I didn't do anything wrong. And I had a guy who wanted me to be hired who knew I hadn't done anything wrong. And we had to be like, okay, so we're going to ask you the question and then we're going to wait 10 seconds. Don't answer for 10 seconds. So we're going to let it spike like you're lying and then let it calm down because you just get anxious when people ask you questions about stuff. And then you answer like that. It took forever to figure out how to calibrate the thing to give me the benefit of the doubt because he knew I wasn't lying to get it to give me the right answer. But the cops, if you're in there and getting a polygraph because they think you did something, they're not going to do that for you. So don't talk to the cops without a lawyer. Your lawyer will have, if the cops want you to take a polygraph and you're willing to do it, your lawyer will have an independent polygraph person take your polygraph who will spend the time to calibrate with you so it doesn't look like you're lying when you say your name and give accurate results. And that's not admissible in court anyway. But your lawyer could hire somebody to do a polygraph that they could send to the police if that's what the issue is. So don't talk to the cops without a lawyer.
Yeah. The big bracket that we need to close here is this is the first question on the quiz that you had, which is who is fascinating to you? You haven't answered.
Oh, I would say that's good.
I'm just saying. I did. I gave an answer.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Wait, you asked it of me.
Oh, I'm just reading off the list here. Have I met fascinating people? I've met people who are fascinating in different ways. I mean, I feel like I've met a lot of...
Norway.
Sweden,
Norwegian Prince of Norway.
He was super nice, but I don't know that he was like especially fascinating. I mean, there were parts of his life that were like super interesting. Like, who's the highest profile person I've met?
No, that's not the same. You're right.
I've met a lot of those. Like, I guess I'm not especially impressed with people. I mean, neither are you, like, based on your answer, right? Like, this is like my college roommate was really interesting as opposed to like, I met this famous person. I met the Dalai Lama.
He's fascinating because his personality is so different from mine, yet I really like him. And, we're good friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a good answer to this question. If we were on a first date and you're like, what's the most fascinating person you've met? I'd be like, I don't know, man. What about you?
What kind of pretentious question is that?
What's the last book you really got into?
Ugh.
Now, I answered this one already in like the last podcast where I talked about books, which was the guest list.
I haven't read books in a while. I mean, I'm reading a bunch of rowing books. The Brad Lewis book, Assault on Lake Casitas.
Yeah.
I'm rereading The Amateurs. I mean, this is like, there's 3 or 4 crew books.
Yeah.
The Boys in the Boat, but I read that years when it came out. I read that before, before it's cool.
That's a good book, though.
Yeah, I should read the African American, the one we watched the movie of, A Most Beautiful Thing, right?
That was a great movie.
About these Chicago rowers from a shitty neighborhood who put together a rowing program. And weren't that good, but they really liked it.
And it was kind of the thing that like gave them a thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, they were like, this is something we can do together, and it's
a great
on
documentary.
the water, and it's something we have, right? That's cool.
Yep.
So,
all right. Well, here's one that we can answer. What are some movies you've really enjoyed? Dear Dad just spit out
easier
his
to
finger.
do the negative of the ones we haven't. But
So Dear Dad and I, did we talk about this on the podcast before? Or did
the
I
shark
just tweet?
ones?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think this was a full-fledged plan until.
Apologies if we've talked about this before. So I installed. We have a Roku TV, and it showed me an ad for some like haunted London show, which I clicked on, and it downloaded an app called
Fubu?
Free
Vubu?
Flicks. Free Flicks, something free. Watch Free Flicks, I think is what it was called.
Good.
Which had a bunch of like.
Why would you do that? That's like a spam thing.
Well, it basically was spam. Yes. So it's like second-rate TV shows and B movies.
Does it really say second rate?
No. This is my description. With commercials added, which is why you can watch them for free.
Are you sure it's not Vubu?
No, we have Voodoo. We got Hulu. We got
Yeah. All right.
a bunch of the other ones.
Just
Watch Free Flicks. F-L-I-X. Flicks. And so they had a category in there called Sharks We Love to Hate, which had a bunch of crappy shark movies. And
which there are a remarkable number.
There are many. So they had 9. And we tried to watch one on Watch Free Flicks, but the streaming quality was so bad, we could watch like 2 minutes and then it would just buffer.
It would freeze.
Fortunately, every one of those shark movies was available on Amazon Prime. So we added them on Amazon Prime, which also had, like 30 more.
Yeah.
So we've been watching bad shark movies. Like basically every night there's not a Caps game, we watch a bad shark movie. Basically, I would say the rule is if Sci-Fi made them. So Sci-Fi made Sharknado. And in the wake of Sharknado's success, they made probably 20 more crappy shark movies. Avalanche Sharks.
Other Sharknados. There's like
There's
three
like
or four,
3 or 4
yeah.
Sharknados. But Avalanche Sharks was definitely them.
The six-headed shark might be what theirs too.
Planet of the Sharks, which we watched like 2 nights ago, was them, which was quite
theirs.
good.
Yeah.
The Sci-Fi ones are, they're really bad, but they have a plot
They
and
have a budget.
decent production value. It's not great special effects, but it's not,
No, it's like
the
if you
bad special effects are so
if
bad.
you put a bunch of pretty good writers in a room and tell them you got 2 weeks to put out a script.
A
and then
corny shark movie.
We'll give you like $1 million to make a movie. That's
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah, so Planet of the Sharks, which we watched like 2 nights ago, it's like the polar caps have melted and the entire planet is underwater. There's no land anywhere, so everybody lives on these flotillas.
It's like Waterworld.
They're going to launch a rocket with a CO2 scrubber into space that's going to get rid of all the CO2 and bring the planet back to normal, which, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie they do. And 6 months after launching the rocket, the water is receding and there is dry land again. So it turns out it's real easy to fix global warming.
We
But
should just shoot a rocket. I don't understand why we
mysteriously, there's also a bunch of angry sharks.
Really angry sharks.
Working together, and one of them is like a robot shark, which is
No,
unexplained.
like glowy shark.
Yeah, it lights up and attacks people.
Robot shark is something different.
There was Robo Shark. We did watch that. There's a wind surfing action sequence in
Yeah.
Planet of the Sharks.
Yeah, it's really bad.
They blow up a volcano, an underwater
It's
volcano.
kind of like Waterworld meets Mad Max meets
Jaws.
Air Jaws, like the Discovery Channel Air Jaws.
Meet Sharknado, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
So those have been, we count that as good.
That was pretty good.
Then there's some other like independent ones.
Canadian ones.
Oh, they're so bad. There's one, so we watched one, and it opens with like these two girls on this sort of rocky beach on a lake. You
Like
can see
rocky, not sandy. Like it's rocky pebbles.
and also it's a freshwater lake that you can see across. It is not a giant lake. And there's sharks in the water, but they lay in their bikinis for like 10 minutes on this beach, and then they go in the water.
Is that what they have? A splash fight?
They have this splash fight, which like should go on for 5 seconds. And it's like 3 minutes of the movie. Like
it feels like half an hour. It feels like half an hour. Who? And you're like, who splashes? How
what
annoying is this?
Doing?
But they're splashing each other for like half an hour.
So they have all that. So fine, we watch this stupid movie. There's like an art heist. It's
God.
terrible.
All these movies have a depth problem where everyone's standing until the shark comes, and then it's like 300 feet deep all of a sudden. But they're all standing around in the freaking water.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when the shark comes, it's like, from the depths comes the shark.
Yeah, and the posters have like a yacht in the middle of the ocean and a helicopter and like flames and this massive shark. And like the actual sharks, even CGI'd, are like half the size of a great white, and it's in a freshwater lake in Canada.
Yeah.
There's no helicopters or flames. So anyway, we watched this one Canadian movie. And then the next night I'm like, okay, here's a different bad shark movie.
Land shark? Voodoo shark.
Voodoo shark. And it opens with a girl on a rocky beach on a lake, and Jared's like, man, that looks just like the beach yesterday.
It's
and I was like,
freaking lake.
it really does look exactly like yesterday. And I look it up, and it's the same director. He just goes to the same like city park, like outside Vancouver to film it. And so I was like, I live tweet these on the Jen Runs with Dogs, like, okay, we're watching this shark movie. And I was like, you guys, this Voodoo Shark is the same director as the last shark movie. And the director on Twitter is like, yes, it is the same guy.
It's me. It's me.
It's me. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, you maybe need to shoot someplace else other than this park in Vancouver.
This movie had like them running around in the woods and the shark chasing them through the woods.
Down a path.
It's a ghost shark. May have been ghost shark instead of voodoo shark. But
If you it might have been. If you've watched Jaws, like the actual movie Jaws, there's a scene on the 4th of July at the beach where it opens with some kids in the, what is the video game? Arcade.
Yeah.
When they're in the arcade and there's like a Shark Hunter video game, and it's got like a hologram shark, like like digital outline shark. That's what, if you remember the scene, that's what the shark looks like in these movies. That's the quality of the CGI.
That's the inspiration. For
1975 video game shark is the level of that.
Better than 8-bit, but not much.
Oh, barely. No, that's right. So in any case, almost every other night we're watching bad shark movies.
Yep.
So that's a thing.
But that's not the last book. Was it the last movie? What
are some movies you've really enjoyed?
Oh, well. I mean, these are fine evening fillers.
Mm-hmm. No, I would not say we've really enjoyed them.
Enjoyed. Ugh.
Do you have like favorite movies?
Favorite movie.
I used to be like a
favorite
real...
movie's The Blues Brothers, but it's like that's like the classic
Oh,
for all
interesting.
times.
It's a good one.
Come on, that's awesome.
It is a good
it's
one.
It's a ode to Chicago in the 80s, Chicago in the 70s.
Like 1981, I believe, is when that movie was filmed.
Blues, Aretha Franklin, Chuck
Oh, she's
Berry.
so good. Aretha Franklin is so good.
It's priceless. That is a great movie.
Whoa!
Not just because of those two stars, but because they have like such great blues artists in there and just like doing their thing.
Sorry, I almost fell over refilling Dear Dad Sangria. Yes, no, that's very good.
Blues Brothers probably is way up there.
I have like a weird mix of feelings because like I used to work as a projectionist at the student theater at the University of Chicago.
You were like a film snob.
I really was.
Yeah.
Like my favorite movies, I used to say like the Red, White, and Blue trilogy, which like you don't need to go see any of those. But I saw a ton of like foreign films and like very art housey things, which are, I still think are very good.
Red, White, and Blue, really? Aren't they like complicated and problematic and
very
deep
much so?
and
Very
sad?
much so. Yes,
Sad.
3 movies.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
I know.
I know
enough.
you know. I'm just explaining for those who might not know. Like
No, I don't.
mid-90s
I've never
independent.
watched them. I just know cocktail party level. Like, there's one red, there's one blue, and there's one white.
Yeah.
And they're like, not Fellini, but it's kind of like artsy French stuff.
Yes. No.
Fellini's
Like
Italian. I understand that too.
but I had like 8.5 was one of like the 4 DVDs that I owned, which is Fellini.
There you go.
So depressing. But also like I really like watching Ghostbusters. So
Jaws. You have DVDs of movies that you really like. So this
I have
is
like 9 DVDs.
Yeah, it's like a select group. This could be considered your favorite movies.
One of them is Puppetry of the Penis.
That's my fault.
So you guys, Puppetry of the Penis.
This is I can't even. You go ahead. Go ahead.
You can correct me. So
no, I'm not going to correct you. I'm embarrassed and apologizing.
Puppetry of the Penis is a live. So it's sort of like if you were to watch a comedy show on Netflix, right?
Yes.
It's a live stage comedy performance by 2 Australian guys, which I think is why Dad likes it.
Yep.
Making funny shapes with their junk.
Oh my God.
They're full on naked.
Yep.
We got the DVD. So this talks a little bit about how old it was, because it's not that long ago that there was stuff that you had to get on DVD. You couldn't stream it. We've been together.
They had a live show in Rosslyn, Virginia.
Did you go?
No.
No.
Which is why I had to get the DVD.
So, Dad and I started seeing each other in 2011. And it was, I don't know if we were married when we got this, but 2011, there was a lot of stuff you couldn't stream.
No.
You had to get DVDs of it. So I bought the DVD of this, and it came like a day before we went on vacation to Vegas.
Yeah.
So I have this very clear memory of being in like the Venetian Hotel in Vegas and had
Looking down on the Bellagio, the more expensive
Yes,
Bellagio
that's right.
fountain. Yeah.
Though I got to say, the Venetian, were we in the Venetian? We were in like the parallel.
Were we in the
property.
Aria?
No, we've stayed
Also known as the Aria.
the very first time.
Cosmopolitan.
No. So the very first time Dad and I went to Vegas, we stayed in the Aria. It was very tense.
I call it the Aria.
And Dad called it the Aria all the time.
Unrelated. I didn't get that it was the Aria.
Aria. Yeah, Dad, I think, was very stressed out to be on vacation with me. It was very early when we were dating. A few months into when we had started dating.
You're very intimidating.
And I'm very intimidating. That's true. That is definitely my experience. Yeah.
But it wasn't then. This was like maybe New Year's in the Cosmopolitan.
It was in the Cosmopolitan. So we stayed in the Aria the first time, and then we stayed in this Venetian hotel the second time. But it's not I'm trying to look it up on the map now.
The one next to the Bellagio is the Cosmopolitan. The blue lights.
So we stayed in the Aria, and then we stayed in this Venetian hotel, and then every time since then we've stayed at the Cosmopolitan, which is like a little plus. The Palazzo.
What the?
That's the name of the place that we stayed.
Palazzo?
The Palazzo it's like the tower connected to the Venetian.
Oh.
So it's part of the same complex, but it's just, they have like different feels in each one. So anyway,
okay.
We're in the Palazzo. And we've got this room, and it's got like a little sunken living room space, and then separate from the bedroom space. And it had a DVD player in it, and we had brought the Puppetry of the Penis. So while we're on vacation in Vegas, I was like touching up my nail polish, and we're watching the DVD of Puppetry of the Penis of these guys like manipulating their junk. All I remember it being very funny, but I remember them making it into a hamburger shape.
I remember the hamburger too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thing.
It's something. They're painless.
I don't know that I would say that that's one of my favorite movies. Though.
I know.
do
It
own
doesn't
the
count
DVD.
as one of your favorite movies. We got The Exorcist. We got Jaws.
Oh, The Exorcist, yeah.
We got
Ghostbusters.
And then it's like fine. Then you have a few others that are fine, but like those are your go-to. Or Jaws is like your go-to relaxing movie these days.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I will say that when it came out in probably 1997, Darren Aronofsky's movie Pi, which was a very indie film, I probably saw that 15 times in the theater. I really connected
Crazy
with that
mathematician.
film. Yeah, who has migraines and he ends up drilling a hole in his head.
Ooh, I haven't seen it because it sounds just hard to watch.
It's very intense. I was in a very bad relationship at the time, but I remember dragging my boyfriend, who was into it, to that movie. I mean, I saw it in the theater a ton of times. It really spoke to me at the time. I don't think it probably would now, but
Funny how you don't have that DVD.
no, I wore out my interest in the movie. It's just,
Good.
It's like with a favorite song, and it's just like, now I've heard it like the 1,354th time I've heard it, I am done with it, and I'm not interested anymore. That's sort of how I am.
Oof.
Let's see. What's your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Coke Zero.
Yeah, I drink a lot of Diet Coke.
This is kind of like,
interesting.
that's like not a very interesting answer.
I do like to drink shrubs. I'll add that.
Yeah,
I don't drink them all that nearly as much as Diet Coke, but I do like to make one.
And I've been, since this is for length, not, interesting.
Yeah.
I've been into non-alcoholic beers lately.
Yeah, you have.
To complement the actual beers.
Uh-huh. If you have any interesting non-alcoholic beers, you can send them to Jared.
What's that stuff called? Athletic Brew? Something. There's some new place in, I think, Colorado that's really heavily marketing. I mean, they do like Instagram ads of alcohol-free beers that taste good. They're beer-like. I mean, they're not exactly like beer, but they're good, and they're good after a workout. They seem to they quench your thirst. They taste sort of like beer.
Yeah.
Maybe Athletic. It's got to be.
I think it's Athletic Brew.
And they
Brew.
ship, right, which is a big thing these days, right? You can buy like 2 6-packs and get them shipped.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of into that when I'm not drinking Coke Zero.
Yeah. Okay, so number 10 is, where have you traveled? Did you go to Tajikistan?
I've been everywhere.
You went to some Central
Tajikistan,
Asian
yeah.
Republic. Yeah. Tell us about that trip, dear Dad, because that's an interesting. I have been a lot of places, but I have not been to Tajikistan.
It was a work trip, obviously. I had to go to Dushanbe, which is. It's interesting. I was checking in for the flight. This is a work trip, so I had, it was like, and the person who was checking me in for United or whatever it was, probably at the time.
You can't fly direct to.
No. You can fly through Turkey, or you can fly through
St. Petersburg?
Riga. St. Petersburg. No, I think Riga one way, St. Petersburg the other way. Yeah, other way. Yeah. I think I flew Lithuanian Air there, but you can also fly Air Turkey, maybe.
Turkish Air?
Turkish Air from Turkey, from Ankara, from Istanbul. Anyway, the person who was checking me in Dulles was just like, oh, Dushanbe. It's so funny. You keep saying Dushanbe. That just means Monday in Persian. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's the name of this, like the capital city of Tajikistan. She's like, well, it just means Monday. Apparently, there was a Monday market in Dushanbe, and they called it Monday, and that's the name of the capital in Tajikistan. So I never knew that. But so I flew there. And, we were supposed to have someone from the office pick me up, but this is the World Bank, and there's a bureaucracy, and no one really gives a shit, so no one wanted to wake up. But I had to fly through St. Petersburg, couldn't get a visa. I mean, didn't get a visa for Russia, so I had to stay in the airport.
Yeah.
And it was a whole thing where I was like, and I don't speak Russian, and all the announcements are in Russian. So at some point, they were like, some guy like comes around, he's like, Tajikistan, flight, whatever, air Lithuania Air 432, and he like escorts you through past the metal detectors in some back door, past everything else, and then you're like, I hope this is my flight, and you just get on a flight, and then it's another 6 hours so we flew to Riga first, and then to Tajikistan. So you get to Tajikistan at 3 in. Oof. And it's like it's like an elementary school terminal. Looks like an elementary school. And they just have, a bunch of guys with big, giant USSR hats. Like the big hats,
the big
right?
Furry
That was
hats.
a big thing. No, not the furry hats. Like the big, oversized policeman's hats. Like those flat ones, right? That look ridiculous. And a guy with a stamp. He's the guy with the hat and the stamp. And it's 3 in, and he doesn't speak English. I don't speak Russian. And he's just like... blooded. I'm like, I don't know. I'm traveling for the World Bank. Here's my visa. He's like, I don't know. And he's like, probably if you gave me $20, it'd go faster. And I was like, I'm not going to give you $20. So he like lets me through at some point. I don't know why. I don't know what the questions were. And then at 3 in, I'm like in this weird deserted terminal, looking around for the driver for, my office, and there's no one there.
Of course.
There's like a bunch of... So some guy pulls up in a minivan, and he's like, drive? Ride? Car? I was like, okay. And I'm like, World Bank, I want to go to the World Bank building, right? And so I had the address, and he was like, okay. So I got in this minivan with this dude, which is like, you can tell I'm not a woman, right? Because
I was going to say, there's
rape
no way
murder this would be rape murder right there. And this could have been murder still. And I was like, fuck, I might get killed. He didn't look like a killer guy, but
they never do.
he's driving me through down to 3:30 in the morning, the middle of the night in Tajikistan. I don't know from Tajikistan, right? So he's driving me through these big streets. And he's like, and I was like, what? He goes, Russian embassy. And I was like, oh, cool, great. And he's like pointing at things, and he's like, and I was like, what is that? It's like, presidential palace? I don't know. I was like, okay, cool. Great. It's dark. I don't see any of this stuff. And he's like, ministry of this. And I was like, wow, you're giving me the tour. Just drive me. I think I'm going to the Hilton. Just give me the Hilton, And so he gets me in at like 4 a.m. And I get to the hotel, and I give him some kind of money. I don't even know how I paid the guy. I mean, I probably had exchanged some Dushanbe, some Tajik currency before, or I had like dollars or something.
Yeah.
I probably gave him dollars, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is
it always is like that. It's a nice thing.
This is pretty good. It still is pretty good." Yeah. So I went to Tajikistan, and it's like a weird little dictatorship where they have a real mix of cultures. Like they still have like, old-fashioned shepherds, and in their fields, and then all of a sudden it's the presidential palace with like Saddam Hussein like crossed sword kind of decor, and it's like the golden lion and all this crap. It's a very weird little place.
Yeah.
They have a lot of water there. They control a lot of the water into the other
Kyrgyzstan,
former republics.
Yeah.
The stands. Yeah. So that was a weird little trip. Yeah.
That is a weird one.
Yeah, but that was a business trip. For fun, I think I've been in every continent except Antarctica.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Not that good.
Yeah,
Not as good as you.
I've been everywhere.
I haven't been to Africa or Antarctica or Australia.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
I've been to Asia a few times. I've been all over Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad.
South America. We went together to the Galapagos. That was great.
That was great. Yeah. That was a trip of a lifetime.
It was. So we played hockey with this guy who was like an assistant deputy secretary of defense, who was just amazing. He was a medical doctor, so he was in charge of all the medical stuff for the Department of Defense. So in charge of the VA, everything medical for DOD. He was great. I mean, he was just brilliant. This is the guy that like.
How are you gonna pull this into Galapagos? But go ahead.
I will, because it's the direct version. I think he messed up his bicep playing hockey. He maybe got hit by a puck. He tore it. Oh, he did. That's right. He tore it taking a slap shot. So he goes into surgery. And he's a brain surgeon.
He is literally a brain surgeon. He's also like, is he a colonel, or like he's a high-ranking officer too?
He was one of the first Black Navy SEALs.
He's a Navy SEAL. He could kill you.
Yeah.
Also,
I love this guy so much.
Oh my God, he was the best.
And eventually he left DOD and DC to go be the dean of a medical school somewhere. I mean, he's amazing. So he tears his bicep playing hockey, and he has to get surgery on it. So he goes into surgery. He's like, "You're not putting me under for this. I'm going to tell you what to do." So he just has basically like fucking local anesthetic.
He's like, "So that better, damn it."
They cut it open, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to be able to, the scar will be a lot bigger if we go do this." He's like, "Cut it open." Like, just cut it open. He's like yelling at the surgeon.
He's like, "Let me use my right hand." Let me, yeah.
God, this guy's awesome. So he and I got along really well.
He was a great guy. Sarcastic, but he's a freaking Navy SEAL. Like, they try to kill you during all phases of Navy SEALdom, and he was not just a SEAL. He may have been a SEAL instructor. I mean, he was like badass.
He's the one who, and he really liked me, which is always nice. Like, I really admired him, but he also thought that I was awesome.
Yeah.
so we put together, he wanted to do a social media campaign about like fitness for the army. And he's like, they tell me it's going to cost $1 million. And I was like, it's not going to cost $1 million. So he's like, okay, well, I know this guy who used to play for the St. Louis Blues. So he flies like me, the goalie from our hockey team, him and a couple other guys out to St. Louis to practice with the St. Louis Blues to film this thing.
Videoed for the army, right?
Like literally me with a borrowed video camera from the DOD.
Who was the goalie? Who's the 7 foot Bishop? The goalie was like something Bishop, who was 7 foot tall.
He still plays.
Yeah.
And he get like our goalie from our crappy D League hockey team. Like he gave him his stick at the end of it.
Oh my God.
So the St. Louis were like, we didn't have them in much of it, but they were like super nice about it. You know, filmed this thing with us, and then like our pal, the DOD guy, like his contact whose dad had been like, 20-year like professional hockey player. And then he had played professional hockey and was also in the military. Like he owns a liquor distributor in St. Louis. So he has like a warehouse where they distribute like beer and liquor and stuff. So he took us to like a Cardinals game because he has a box there, like like 8 of us.
Best connections.
Oh my God. And then back to their warehouse, which is downtown St. Louis, like, walking distance from the stadium, where they've got like those, the pallets of beer that go up to the ceiling. And he's like, come on in here. And they have like a bar. And he's like, here's the liquor we're thinking about distributing. And I was like, I am so into this. So they have like, this is like cherry flavored moonshine. I'm like, give it to me. It's like 2 PM. Give me. Everybody else is like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, I want to try everything you have back there.
I'm not afraid.
It was like an amazing trip. I think we ended up never doing anything with the footage anyway. The point being...
never completed.
No. I tried really hard, but I think...
It got lost in the bureaucracy.
Our pal got really busy, and I'm like, I need you to re-record this audio.
Yeah.
So anyway, Locke, who's the guy that we're talking about, I was talking to him after some hockey game. So, like we all get dressed in the locker room. I'm the only girl on there's 2 girls on the team, basically, but whatever. I mean, like, we're all adults, right? So we're all getting changed in the locker room. And I'm like talking to him, and I was like, I would love to go to the Galapagos. He's like, I just went on an expedition, like with my friend from the University of Michigan, where he had been a professor. He's like, my friend is a biologist. Like she did a research expedition. Like I went on her boat down there. He's like, you have to go before it gets fucked up, because it's amazing, but it's going to get fucked up. And I was like, okay. And so
wow. He's right about both. Yeah.
It was a time where I was doing like a ton of, the kind of side work. So we had a lot of extra money coming in, and I was like,
you were just like, fine, I've made X amount of dollars. We have X amount of dollars to spend this month.
I was like, Ingo, do you want to go to the Galapagos? And Ingo's like, yeah. And I was like, okay,
duh.
I got money. I'm going to find the nicest, like the most luxurious option to go to the Galapagos. And it turns out there's not a wide range of options for the Galapagos. Do you think he needs to go out?
I don't know.
The cheese cube is standing up, which is rare. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So yeah, he's like, go before it gets fucked up. Turns out the best options from my research, if you decide you want to go to the Galapagos.
The fanciest.
Yeah, the fanciest are doing a National Geographic cruise or Silver Seas. We did Silver Seas. The cruise ships are really limited down there, so they're about 100 people max.
Yeah, if you think it's going to be like a Disney cruise or a Miami cruise with, Norwegian lines or something, it's not going to be like that at all.
No, the cruise ship that you get on will have rooms for everybody, and there will be a common room where you could briefings about the excursion you're going to take, and there's a teeny tiny library, and that's about it. There's no casino.
There's no pool.
No, there's no pool.
There was no swimming pool.
There's like a restaurant, which is fine.
A limited bar, too. Oh, my God.
The bar was
limited bar.
Bad. I didn't drink. I couldn't drink for free, and I didn't drink, which tells you about the quality of the drinks.
Yeah.
I lost weight on the cruise.
We both lost weight.
Yeah.
That's the last time we both lost weight.
Which is not to say that... So we went on the Silver Seas. It's not to say that it was bad. It's just not like the kind of Disney cruise that you think about, which has like casinos and lots of entertainment and shows.
Good.
I would never do it again, but I got so sick on the cruise.
We also don't like to be told what to do
Yeah.
being part of like being part of a group activity, and all of it was that, right? So it kind of all combined. But also, the food was buffet food. It was fine. It was fine for that.
Yeah.
But we weren't. I don't know. There were no snacks. It was not like, I don't think they had a store we could buy chips
No,
or
they
anything,
didn't.
right?
No.
When our normal lifestyle of acquiring calories didn't work there.
No. At the same time, it was amazing. Like, we went swimming with sea lions. I played tag with the sea lion where I'd like,
Oh my God, you pet the sea lions.
I bop it on its little like back fins, and it would like loop around and boop its little nose on my feet. And
It was
I'd
like a
bop
dog.
it on its back
It was
fins.
like a
It was
dog.
amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. We went swimming with
We saw so
sea
much.
turtles and
Yeah.
blue-footed boobies,
We
and
saw so much.
it was amazing. Like, absolutely trip of a lifetime. Would never do it again because I got so sick on the boat. And it was a 7-day cruise, which is about as short as you can do down there.
Yeah.
Because, you leave from Baltra.
There's
to-
like 14 islands or something, right? Or more, 20 islands.
Yeah, you fly from either Guayaquil or... You remember the other city that we flew from? I mean, we ended up flying from Guayaquil, so we flew from
Yeah.
wherever it was to Guayaquil, and then you fly over to Baltra, which is in the Galapagos, right? You go to Ecuador,
Yeah.
you fly to the Galapagos, which are west, and you land in Baltra. It's got an extremely strict intake customs where they make sure you don't have any seeds or
That's
like
right.
any
Oranges or
contraband.
something,
Yeah,
yeah.
Everything is checked, and then you get on the boat there in Baltra, and you go around a bunch of islands, and then the boat lands you back
I
in
think
Baltra.
it's Guayaquil. You don't go from Quito. You have
We-
to go from Quito
That's
to...
right. So we flew into Quito, and then
Yeah.
we flew Quito to Guayaquil, and
which is
Guayaquil
the
to
port.
Baltra.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you get on the boat in Baltra, you cruise around the island, whichever way you're going to do it, the islands. We crossed the equator twice.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean,
It's
the
super cool.
concept is awesome. Because you move at night, right? So it's like you wake up in a new island.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And then you end back at Baltra, get on a plane, and then we flew Guayaquil to Panama, to
Yeah.
Newark.
Oh,
I was so sick. So I get really motion sick, and I had the little patches that you like put behind your ear, which did help with the motion sickness, but I had all the side effects that go with it. And then I took them off. But and I don't know if it was before or after I took them off, but I got land sick. So when you get off the boat, like, I felt like I was going to pass. I was quite certain I was going to pass out. Like, I started sweating.
oh my God.
And got really woozy, had to like hold my head between my knees anytime I was off the boat.
I have an image of us going to the biggest, the one you go to last, the biggest island in
It has the
in
tortoises.
Galapagos. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we were on the shore
Yeah.
and you were on a bench and you were so sick and there was like a sea lion under the bench and you're just like, I can't even deal right now. I'm just like feeling so terrible. You had your head down and there's a freaking sea lion sleeping basically one bench over under the bench and you're just like, oh, I just cannot.
I mean, I was sick for, I think, 2 weeks after we got off the boat. Like,
Yeah.
I get really motion sick anyway. I had one,
sick like you were hungover, like you're
was
just
terrible.
unsteady and terrible. Yeah.
it was terrible. I had a cold, some kind of head cold. I remember it kicked in when we were in New Orleans a few years before this, where I got weird vertigo, which I had never had before, and, had stuff that could manage it, but was never really seasick before that. And then after I got that, it was really bad. And so then 7 days on a boat was like the worst thing for it. So we were coming home. So you fly from Balta to Guayaquil, and then we fly Guayaquil to Panama, and then you have to
We had like an
exit the
8-hour
plane.
layover, 8 hours in Panama City or something.
And you have to
So
go through customs. You have to leave through customs and then go back
It
through.
was way too long.
And I almost passed out literally at the desk in customs. And I was like, I'm going to pass out here on the floor, and they're going to like send me to a hospital or something. They're not going to let me like enter the airport. it was, I mean, like my body was sweating, like my legs were weak. I couldn't feel things. At some point we ended up in a lounge. I think it was in Panama
It
City.
was like the first class lounge in Panama City. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
I was smart enough to fly as first
supposed
class.
to be fancy. It wasn't that fancy, but
There
it
were
was fine.
kids everywhere,
It was
and I
fine.
was just curled up in a chair.
I just
and
remember
was
some
like,
dude vacuuming. It's like 3 a.m. and some dude's like vacuuming around your feet, like we do around the dogs. He's like, voot, 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 voot. Like,
it was like I
and you're
was
just
really
like, I'm
hungover.
gonna just die. And the guy's like, I'm gonna vacuum here. I'm vacuuming.
And I was like, Ingo, please bring me water. And he'd come back with
I was
these
like,
like,
get the fuck out of here, dude. Stop vacuuming somewhere else.
if I ever had any question about whether Inga was the right partner for me, he proved it on that trip. He took such good care of me.
I felt so bad for you. I mean, it's
God, I
just so
felt so
terrible
bad.
when you feel physically so disabled when you're traveling. It's the worst. It's the worst.
I remember talking to a flight attendant on one of those flights. I don't know if it was
It
why
was
I killed
coming out of Panama City. I think.
Panama to
Yeah.
Newark, and I was like, I need water, and she's like offered me a little bottle. I'm like, do you have anything bigger than that? And she had, these like 1.5 liter like big ones, and I was like, I need that one. She's like, it's really big. I was like, I'm really sick.
Just
I
leave
need
it
that
here.
entire bottle of
And
water.
she did. She was like, "You want some ice with that?" You
She
know,
did.
was,
No,
like,
she was
super
nice about
And
it.
She's like, do you want a blanket? Because it's also 32 degrees in this plane. Cause
Flight attendants are really good when
Yeah.
you're sick. Yeah, and then we landed in Newark. So one of the side effects of the medicine, which is the patches that you stick behind your ear, is that you lose your ability to focus your eyes. Exactly. Which I totally had. A lot of people who have used those totally had.
like you couldn't read. I mean, it was like me with reading.
I was like, I can't imagine that my vision changes with age this quickly, like over the course of 2 days. But it was like that.
No, and you had that on the cruise too. I think it was
I
like
did.
once you stopped taking the patches, the whole thing.
I was like,
turned
why can I not read this bottle?
Spiral, yeah.
So we land in Newark at like 4 a.m. because it was the only option to get back. And so we had rented a car to drive from Newark back to our house, which was like a 4-hour drive.
Newark in Virginia, Newark to Virginia.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm fine in terms of like awakeness. But I remember like leaving Newark and getting on the Jersey Turnpike to drive south and not being able to read any of the billboards because like my eyes couldn't focus on them. And I was
And
like,
I think we let you drive because if I drive, you get car sick.
I do.
Like the whole thing is like a complete conundrum.
Yeah, so the trip is like this weird mix of like the stuff we saw was just like mind-blowingly amazing. The experience was so good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I got so sick.
And you're so certain you're not a cruise person now.
Never will go on a cruise again. And I mean, it was like 2 weeks. There's people who do cruises like that who have motion sickness and get this land sickness who permanently get disabled where like they sit down, like
my
you
God.
sit and you close your eyes and you feel like you're tilting to the left.
It's like you're always drunk. The
Yeah.
room is always spinning.
Yeah.
This is room spins. It's awful. I've had these alcohol induced. It's terrible. You have to sleep with one hand on the floor.
And they get like that permanently.
Oh.
I mean, like it never goes away. It's crazy. And so of course, like since I'm so anxious about how I feel about like my health stuff,
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, am I going to be like this forever? But it went away
It
after
took
2
like
weeks.
2 weeks.
2
which is-
weeks.
Think about every day wondering if you're going to be messed up all
Yeah.
your life. It's a long time. Yeah.
Never will go on a cruise again.
It was. I was like, I had to go to work because I, didn't want to deal with your crap.
But like independent of the sickness, I also felt really trapped after about 5 days. Like,
We
God,
both,
I am just
we both. I
suck.
mean, this is not about you at all. This is like we both were just like, we were going to. There was like a tiny gym with like 2
like 3 ellipticals and a
tracks,
bike.
indoor running machines, and yeah, and like exactly. There was one gym on the thing. There was like 100 people on the cruise, right? It wasn't like that many people on the plane on the ship. 100 people, 200 crew, or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we had just nowhere to go, and we didn't want to hang out and play cards with like the
Old people.
60-year-olds from Newark or whoever else was there, like Long Island, couples.
It was a lot of that.
And so it was a little claustrophobic, and it was a little limited in options. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like one of the big cruise ships where there's tons of stuff to do.
And
Though I
even,
will say,
even there, we would probably get sick of going to the
Yeah.
casino after night 3 or something, right? Yeah.
at some point though, I went to the gym because I was just like, I feel so stuck. So I'm in the gym and it's basically just me for a while running on the
I
treadmill.
must have gone on some shore trip that you didn't go on.
You might
or
have. You
something.
went on a couple where I was like, it's too cold. Like I'm not.
I think this was like
going out
looking at
there.
sea turtles or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cold.
Yeah. I mean, the water's pretty cold, and you went out. I think you went out snorkeling, and I was like, I've seen whatever the thing is that you're gonna see. Like I'm not going again. So I'm in the gym running on the treadmill, like to keep myself sane. I think one lady came in, was with me, but it's all on the boat, right? So the treadmill looks out of the boat onto the water. There's windows,
Which is cool.
It was cool. And so we're in the middle of the ocean, right? And there's a bunch of like stingrays,
Manta rays.
breaching the water, like a whole pod of them. So you look out there and there's just all these like rays like flying out of the water and landing. And I look at the lady, I'm like, you're seeing this, right? Like, I'm not crazy. It was really amazing that there's just like dozens of these rays just like shooting out of the water and flying through the air. That was pretty awesome.
It was from experiences wise, it was an amazing trip. We will
100%
never
would recommend. Was worth all the
regret
sickness.
seeing all the stuff.
That's right.
It was amazing. And our friend's right. It'll get fucked up. Unfortunately, everything else, the whole climate change thing is just killing the Galapagos like everything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Apparently, cold water is better for
Colder
marine
is
life.
better, yeah.
And everything's getting warmer.
Yeah, so you get the El Nino, and it totally fucks up. Like, there's this huge die-off of penguins and fish and all sorts of stuff.
Iguanas, and I mean, everything, birds, everything just gets ruined, and it happens every year, for frick's sake. Now.
Yeah. And look, it's pricey to go to the Galapagos, even if you don't do like the fancy thing that we did. Like, it's expensive to get down there. But if you look, like a lot of cruise lines, like the cruise that we looked at, like we booked the cruise and we could have taken included airfare that, I mean, for like $150 or something cheap, right? Like I wanted to upgrade to business class, which ended up being worth it.
In hindsight, totally for the lounge.
For sure.
Yeah.
But like $150, like that's super cheap to fly to Ecuador. And so, if you're interested in kind of like nature tourism, like looking for a Galapagos trip that you can go on, it's incredible. I mean, everything down there is amazing, and you can do it on a budget if you do the research and pay attention.
And Ecuador does a good job of marketing the ecotourism and making it safe and restricting it. I mean, that's why these trips are expensive, is because they don't allow that many, because they don't want to they don't want to contribute to it getting fucked up, right? It's global warming, they can't control that, but they're trying not to let it be over visited.
Yeah, so like if your boat, like our boat would land on the end of whatever Fernandina Island, no other boats could land there. If we got it for the morning, it was just us.
Yeah, there's slots.
For the morning. Right. So there's not that many going at once, and they're pretty careful. But that said, I mean, there's plenty of cruise lines that do it. The people who were leading the excursions on our cruise line, they've worked on all other cruise lines. They're all like trained, but they're like national park guides. It's a national park, right? The Galapagos.
So smart, yeah.
Yeah, the Galapagos are a national park for Ecuador, and so if you're going to be working on a cruise ship, you have to be certified as a national park guide from Ecuador. So you get the same guides no matter what. It's what you're paying for is more the kind of accommodation and perks of the place. So if you're going on a budget, there's certainly cruise lines that'll do that for you, and you still will get an amazing experience of seeing the wildlife. You just may have a smaller room or whatever on the cruise ship, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally worth doing.
That's a good cruise benefit, because you move at night. You are at a new island in the morning. It's relatively efficient in a way.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you don't have to travel during the day.
That's right. Yeah, they sit there and like you wake up and you're north of the equator, and then you wake up the next day and you're south of the equator.
But plus you have the whole Darwin thing. I mean, it is a very cool experience. It really is amazing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So that's your favorite trip?
I don't even know what the question was.
These questions are very, We're very loosely adhering to this format.
Well, we're not on a first date. So amazing adventures, I think, is what it is.
Amazing adventures?
Oh, where have you traveled? That's what it is. That's probably the most interesting, unusual place I've traveled. Like, I've been all over Europe. I've been to Japan and Korea.
I still want to drag you to Australia because it's freaking amazing.
I want to go. I mean, we'll go. I think we had tentative plans to go like winter 2020, and then coronavirus fucked it all up.
Yeah. Here, not Australia. Sorry, Australia, but America's fucking it all up for everyone.
No, that's right. We'll go. I have been obsessed with Australia since I was a little kid. Like, I have always wanted to go.
Obsessed with Australia since I
you went.
Moved there in 1972, yeah.
No, I would love to go, and I've got plenty of invitations. Maybe, like, I'm going to be on sabbatical next year, so if life is normal in winter 2022, we can go spend a couple weeks there.
Right. Yeah, you should associate with some university there.
They would have me.
Nah, be good. They'd be lucky to have you.
Yeah, they would.
Right.
I would love to. It'd be great.
Yeah, fair dinkum.
I had some Australian something. I don't know if it was a company or a conference that wanted me to come talk. And I was like, pay my business class airfare and I'll do it for free, which was the stupidest thing to say. Because they're like, well, like, could we do this with the airfare? Could we do this? And I was like, no, I'm doing it for free. Like, normally I would charge you like $30,000 for this thing you're asking for. Like, just give me good airfare. And it was this whole thing. And I was like, nope, not doing it for that.
Such an expensive flight. I mean, it's 20 some hours, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think we have enough miles saved up on United that we could go for free at this point.
I love Australia. I think it's like...
I really want to go.
Because it's America... Sorry, Australia. It's like America 20 years ago, in the good way and in the bad way. I remember living there in the 70s, and it was like 10 years before, right? Like, and now it's like 20 years before. They're still dealing with the blatant sexism and the blatant racism and all the other crap that we're kind of slightly ahead of. I would have thought 4 years ago, but...
At Ingo Burkhardt at Twitter. If you have comments, don't send them to me.
No.
I don't want to hear them.
Australia's awesome.
I would love to go.
It's a great place. They have just a great, vibrant, very interesting culture right now. They're in a big upheaval, I think.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully this winter,
COVID
will be done.
Figuring stuff out the way America is, but...
Look, they've handled this right. I was looking
less violently. Yeah, it's good.
I follow this journalist, Ginger Gorman. She wrote a book on trolling, internet trolling, because she's a journalist and she was targeted by trolls. Like, she got doxxed. She had to move her family out of her house. She and I were on an NPR show together, so I follow her on Twitter, and she's been reporting on the protests that have been going on the last couple of weeks, because there's a woman who reported that she was sexually assaulted in
Australia.
Yeah, in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
She's Australian, yeah. So there was a woman who was sexually assaulted in the House of Parliament.
Parliament, yeah.
Yeah, and reported it. So there have been all these protests about it. So she's been tweeting about that. And there were kind of countrywide protests, I think, last weekend.
Yeah.
And she was posting these pictures of it. Nobody's wearing masks.
Well, they don't have to,
because they don't have to.
They fixed that, yeah.
I was like, oh, look at this thing that you have managed to control that the rest of us haven't.
That's right. They have like the whole sexism problem and sexual assault problem that everyone else has, but they've at least fucking controlled COVID.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, hopefully soon, right? There's plenty of standing invitations. Like, I could definitely go for work. Plenty of people would be happy to have me come, like, give a talk where I could, like, check it off the list.
Oh, yeah. Can you do work in exchange where the prime minister comes here for you going over there?
So we can get him out of there. Nobody seems to like him very much.
Yeah, and then we won't let him back. He's a dick.
Apologies to Australians. I don't know anything about your personal...
Everyone knows he's a dick.
He does seem like an asshole.
He's terrible. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would 100%.
Australia is amazing.
Like, on the list of things I have not traveled to yet, Australia is top on the list of, like, if I died tomorrow, I would die regretting that I hadn't been to Australia.
It's a shame, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it doesn't seem to be a huge destination for Americans, right? Americans are more
It's
eastward
just
looking.
so far.
Eastward looking towards Europe too, though, right?
Yeah, it's
Like
way easier. It's 6 hours to get to the UK, and it's like
Australia's
20 hours
so-
to get to Australia.
It's just cool. I think it's underrated. Australia. All Americans should go to Australia.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we get, we have the dog sitter be like, yeah, I'll stay with your dogs for 2 weeks, and we pay him a bunch of money.
Do
We
it.
go stop over in Hawaii, which I've also never been to.
Oh my God. Let's do a separate trip.
That's
It's a
fine.
totally separate trip because Hawaii's worth a week too.
I'm in.
hmm
Okay. All right, back to the list of conversation starters for first dates questions, because this is a 3-hour podcast.
It's quantity over quality. My motto.
What's your favorite international food?
What? Does that even have meaning anymore?
I mean, like if you had to order
Don't
out.
we all eat international food?
Yeah,
now?
but if you had to order out, like what would be the kind of international food that you want to get?
Oh, jeez. Like now, right now, as I sit here? Frick. That's
I'm going to do
question.
a tie between Mexican and Indian.
Wait, do we have to do countries or actual dish?
Oh, I mean, I think you can pick.
I'm thinking a gyros sounds pretty good right now.
Gyros, yeah.
Sounds pretty good right now, but like a German one, like a Döner, like a
So this is an
Turkish
interesting German
version.
thing. Like Germany there's a bunch of Turkish people in Germany.
Oh my God!
And so if you
they
go-
make the best food, Döner.
So like when I go to Germany with GR Dad as a vegetarian,
Oh well, it's all meat based.
there's no German food that's. I mean, there's Käsespätzle, which
there's like something with less pork.
yeah. Käsespätzle. So spätzle is like it's like a pasta that's it's like a fresh pasta that's sort of pushed through a little extractor thing. That's he's laughing. It's basically pasta, and then with cheese, right? Käse is cheese. So Käsespätzle is kind of like a German version of macaroni and cheese. That's kind of the German food that I can get. But if you're in a slightly bigger city, like even when we went to Karlsruhe, if you're in a city that has like a kind of main area, there's going to be a Turkish restaurant, and they have Mediterranean food.
They have
So you can get
falafel
and all kinds of
Or you can go to the
vegetarian stuff.
Italian, right? The Italians have non-meat options also, but the Germans sure
Yeah.
as shit don't.
No, in France, we ended up going for Italian food, but in Germany, I find that the Turkish or the Middle Eastern food is a good option.
Totally. No, the Germans are like, here's a meat salad.
They're like, fuck you, Jen.
It's called a Wurstsalat, and it has slices of what looks like hot dogs to Americans, and like, salad and mayonnaise in it and stuff. That's called a Wurstsalat.
It's gross.
It's gross, but they have everything with meat.
Yeah.
I think, my family has had a fight with Jen or me where it's like,
You had the fight on my behalf.
fish isn't very meat-like. We'll have
gotta
fish.
say-
Surely she eats fish, even if she's vegetarian, because it's not like meat, is it?
Ingo's parents picked us up at the airport, and they're all talking in German, right? Like, I understand enough German that they can speak in German, but I don't say much. And so Ingo's like, what are we having for dinner tonight? And his mom was like, we're having fish for dinner. And he was like, we should have asparagus for dinner. Because Ingo knows I don't eat fish. And his mom is like, oh, she's a vegetarian. She eats fish. And he's like, there will be asparagus for dinner tonight.
That's stupid. Fish is meat.
It was really nice, though. Like, I didn't have to go like, oh, I don't eat fish.
Oh my
You're
God.
just like, no, there will be asparagus. Let's stop on the way home and get the
I
asparagus.
think I
want
explained
asparagus.
to my mom, was like, fish is meat, Mom. It's
Yeah.
like, she's like, no, it's fish. We're having fish. I'm sure Jen eats fish. I'm like, no, you didn't ask and you're not listening. We're having asparagus.
But, I mean, it's really nice. Like, you didn't make it about like, oh, Jen this, Jen that. You were like, it's asparagus for dinner tonight. Do you have asparagus? If not, let's stop on the way home and get asparagus. It was very nice that you were just like, you didn't put me in the position of having to say to your mom after she made dinner, like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't eat that. Or to eat it or to put it on my plate and kind of push it around. You're just like, it's asparagus for dinner tonight.
I don't
Es
even
ist
remember.
Spargelzeit.
The whole thing was just so stupid. Like, she knew you were a vegetarian. The whole thing was so dueling passive aggressivism. It was ridiculous.
I mean, I wasn't dueling.
You know, me and her. It was like a whole
yeah.
family dynamic. You were outside of it. You could have ended up with a bunch of dead fish looking at you with their eyeballs on your plate, and you would have had to push them around. No, it was like a whole thing. Asparagus is a big thing in Germany.
Oh yeah, it's so good too. It's just basically get a
Spargelzeit.
pitcher of butter and white asparagus.
All the restaurants for 2 weeks in February go, es ist Spargelzeit, Spargelsalat, es ist Spargelzeit, die Spargelzeit ist hier, Spargelzeit.
Spargelzeit means asparagus time.
Because they have asparagus that's harvested before it reaches the sunlight, so it's white.
White asparagus, yeah.
So it's under the ground, and they harvest it before it touches the ground. Mm-hmm. And so they have to eat it quickly, and it's only 2 weeks of the year. I mean, it's got to be 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So all the restaurants are pushing it, and you have it like white asparagus wrapped in
prosciutto.
White asparagus with butter, which is delicious.
So good.
Like
so
anything
good.
as a vehicle for butter is pretty good.
Yeah.
But this is really good too. So I was like, Mom, we're here. It's asparagus season. Why don't we have asparagus? Why are we having stupid fish? It was an easy out. It was an easy deflection.
It worked.
I was like, it doesn't have to be about anyone. I just want freaking asparagus. Shut up.
So we had asparagus and potatoes. The interesting thing about Dear Dad's mom and potatoes is that 1 year...
And Germans.
And Germans. I mean, I don't know if I can speak for all Germans, but certainly your mom. So 1 year, your parents came here on Thanksgiving, and I was like, I will make a traditional American Thanksgiving dinner for your family.
Yeah, it was so nice.
I made a turkey. I don't even eat turkey, but I was like, look, you guys, if you ever have to make a turkey, Alton Brown's turkey recipe on the internet, just doing precisely what he says, and it's the best. I haven't even eaten it.
Because I think I was doing it for my parents, kind of, right? That was the setup, right?
You wanted
I wanted
to
to be like,
this
is turkey Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah. So I made a turkey. Turned out great.
Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah.
Like I got a 12-person turkey for 4 or 5 people. The turkey was gone at the end of the night.
Well, we do eat a lot.
Your dad and his dad were just like pulling pieces off that turkey. It turned out really good, even though I didn't eat any.
Turns out we can eat a lot.
Yeah. So I made the turkey, made cranberry sauce, made all kinds of stuff, and then I'm like, I'm gonna make mashed potatoes.
It was the whole thing.
I made stuffing.
Like a full-on shebang. Yeah.
I like prepped everything at my house. I bring it over to Gr Dad's house to kind of put stuff in the oven, whatever. I'm like, okay, mashed potatoes, clearly important part. So I like got all these red potatoes, chop them up, boil them, and Gr Dad's mom is like, are you gonna peel the potatoes? I was like, no, I really like the potatoes with the skin on. And I'm like doing stuff in the kitchen, and then turn around and suddenly Gr Dad's mom has peeled all the potatoes, because that's just how you do it.
This is the point of contention between me and my mother also.
I mean, look, if she is like, I hate peels on potatoes, that's fine. She can have it, but she just, this is the way we do it. The potatoes are peeled.
She just wanted to be useful or something, because we've also had potatoes we peel at the table. We've had things.
She just decided those potatoes needed to be peeled, even though she asked me, and I was like, no, do not peel them. I like them with the skin on.
What else did she ask you that you said no, and she said, here you go?
What?
Breakfast, like a hot breakfast coming to Germany, where you were like, I don't want to eat anything.
Whenever we get, like, I suck with jet lag.
She's just a mom, right? She's a classic mom, but also,
she means so well.
But mom.
So whenever we go to Europe, like, it takes me a long time to adjust to the jet lag, and the way I adjust to it, so we get to Germany, they're 6 hours ahead, right? So it's like 8 a.m. in Germany, and it's 3 a.m. in my brain. So if you wake me up at 3 a.m.
You feel like crap. You just feel like crap.
Yeah. And I'm nauseous. Like, why am I up so early? I don't feel like eating anything. And Gr Dad's mom was like, what would you like for breakfast? And I was like, not a goddamn thing. Like,
no, you will have a breakfast.
I don't want anything.
Would you want the sausage?
Or
would you like the käse? Would you like the cheese?
How do you want the egg cooked? And I was like, seriously, no eggs. And she's like, I'm making you an egg. How do you want the egg cooked? And I was like, I guess scrambled. So then nobody else eats scrambled eggs, so she scrambles me an egg. And I think we were at your...
I think you said, I don't want anything.
We were at your nephew's
I think you're getting
first communion or confirmation.
This is Volker's
son's
son. Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
first communion or whatever. So we have to drive from Giordad's parents' house to Saarbrücken, a couple-hour drive.
No, it was far. It was like 4 or 5 hours, yeah.
So we're in the car with them. So we have to get up kind of early, get in the car. We flew in, we spent a night with his parents, and then we're leaving the next morning. I mean, I'm just
no time
jet
to adjust. No
dead.
time to adjust.
What do you want for breakfast? I don't want anything. Like, I feel terrible. I'm trying not to throw up right now because I feel so bad.
Diet Coke would be good, but that's unacceptable.
That's right. That's not an option. And they're like, what do you want? What do you want? I was like, nothing. Please, I don't want anything. So we get in the car, right? I feel like crap. It's like in my brain, it's
everyone.
like 2 a.m. in my brain, even though, it's like morning time in Germany, but like 2 a.m. in my brain. And I'm like, I don't want breakfast. So his mom was like, hands me this like brown paper sack and is like,
in the car now or in
the car?
Yeah, when we're like an hour into the car ride, you're trapped. You're trapped in the back with my mom.
Here's a banana and an apple and a hard-boiled egg and like also 2 pieces of bread. And I was like, no, I can't eat anything.
She does this. She has like a Tupperware with like, I have some slices of apple that are peeled. I also have wrapped in brown paper an egg and a banana. You will have breakfast now. Also, I made a sandwich with a slice of, Wurst and some butter on it.
There definitely was bread with butter in the bag that she packed with me. And look, like, Dear Dad's mom is so nice.
She's like, well, if you don't like it, Ingo will eat it. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, I will definitely eat it.
She and I have bonded over our love of sweets. Like, she sends me chocolates because she loves chocolates, and Dear Dad's dad is like, chocolates are bad for you. They're evil. They're morally bad. And I was like, I fucking love chocolate. And his mom's
they've
like,
had a
I love chocolate too.
run-in about Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts too, where he's just like, donuts are crap. I
morally evil.
hate them. And she's like, they're delicious. What are you talking about? They're the best thing ever.
Eat those donuts, Dear Dad's mom.
And he's like, the donuts, they're the worst.
Yeah, so we've sort of connected over this love of sweets, and she's so nice. Like, she sends me like Lindt chocolates and like sneaks them in stuff for me. Like, oh, I know you like chocolate. Put this in there. Like, it's so nice. But at the same time, she's also like, eat the banana and the egg. And I'm
know what you don't like is bananas, and those days you didn't like egg.
Gerda, I'm gonna puke if you make me eat this.
Too much. It's too much.
It's so bad. Okay, back to the list. If there was an Olympic sport for everyday activities, what activity would you have a good chance at winning a medal in?
Folding laundry.
Oh, that's so good.
Or doing dishes, because I fucking rock at doing dishes.
You are so good at both, but especially folding laundry.
I'm so good. I debate whether I triple fold or double fold. Like one fold or double fold a towel. I debate it.
You do a good job.
It's a zen of folding.
I love it.
And folding is the suckiest part, by the way.
I agree. There's a whole TikTok there's a whole cleaning TikTok, and then there's like laundry TikTok where they like just fold stuff. There's a folding TikTok. I don't know if you've ended up there.
This is where TikTok and I diverge, because you just got to do it. I don't care about broadcasting it. I don't care about your crap. My house, my rules.
Yeah.
We have a closet with a certain size and a certain depth and a certain width, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it.
You
TikTok
do such
can't
a good job.
dictate. Like, these kids on TikTok aren't going to tell me how to fold my laundry. And I know they have... Marie Kondo has ideas about folding T-shirts and like tucking them under, and I've seen the thing. It looks very clever. I guess I'm just not ready for new stuff.
I think you do a great job.
Because Marie Kondo, the method it looks like it's very organized and very neat and very tidy. It looks very appealing.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's that practical.
You do a great job.
Sometimes you just have to rummage through shit.
I literally just am like,
her
all the
method doesn't allow
underpants, I jam them in the drawer.
Her method doesn't allow rummaging. It's more like a file cabinet system.
That's true.
little joyless. I don't know if I don't know if I like it.
I feel you.
Okay.
I think if there were an Olympic activity for everyday, or Olympics for everyday activities, I would get it for social media.
Oh,
I'm really good at TikTok. I'm really good at the internet.
Holy crap.
I would totally win.
I mean, you're a professor of the internet, but
I have
also
a PhD in the
you rock.
internet.
Also being nice.
Being nice.
You're so nice.
I'm so nice. Why do people not understand how nice I am?
Why is it always the look of surprise with this so nice? I don't understand.
What would your perfect vacation look like?
Oh, jeez.
So here's the thing for me. It's going to visit the Keys, and we live here now.
Duh.
I'm
on vacation every single day
because I love my occupation.
We've kind of lucked into it. Yeah,
I've gone what is the best thing? This is it.
I was going to say Hawaii, which is like the Keys. It's like very controlled climate, beach everywhere. Hawaii might be better in that I'm getting in trouble. There's slightly more of a local culture.
That's true.
There's a whole coolness there that isn't in the Keys, right? The Keys are like a bunch of like hippies and rednecks who came here and now are just drinking and are retired. That's the dominant thing of the Jimmy Buffett thing, which is fine, but it's a little limiting. And Hawaii is a little deeper and a little bit more philosophical,
For sure.
and a little bit more, divergent. They have volcanoes, and they have all sorts of other cool stuff there.
They have an indigenous culture that we don't really have here.
Yeah, they have an individual identity, right? They're an actual state. They're an actual unique island. The Keys have like the benefit of being Florida. Like they don't have to grapple with any difficult stuff because they're Florida.
But also, there were some fishing camps for Seminole Indians and other Native Americans here, but the islands that we're in were not inhabited before. It's not like we came in and kicked out a bunch of Native Americans who were living here. The Native Americans from mainland Florida would come down here, but there's no fresh water.
No, there was dead bodies for some reason here.
That's Key West is the bastardization of Cayo Hueso, which is Spanish for island of bones, because there were bodies, skeletons left on the shore, but there were no permanent establishments. So definitely the Native Americans came down here to fish and, collect turtles or whatever, but they weren't permanently living here. Where you go into the Everglades and there's, Native American territory in the Everglades. Which, really interesting, right? But in the Keys, they would come down here, they'd go fishing. There were some sort of temporary places, but there was nothing permanent. So it's different. Where in Hawaii, there obviously were people there before white people got there, and there's a real culture to the Hawaiian Islands that is not a thing that is here in the Keys. It's just white people coming down to the Keys.
Yeah, and as background, right? I'm not just I spent a few months there after graduation, right? I 3 or 4 months at a friend's place. Yeah, I had a landscaping job, which was awesome. But there's a whole thing about the locals and the native Hawaiians and the white guys, right? This is a whole thing with President Obama, who's from there, right? So you're like a Kama'aina or a local, or and someone at some point during there was a bunch of native guys that I worked at the landscaping business for, and they're like, you work really hard for a white guy. You're the hardest working white guy that I've ever met. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so it was it's a whole different approach there, and and I think they're becoming more aware too, which is cool.
The islands, yeah.
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 And it's more of a connection to South Pacific than to America in some ways. It's a whole cross current that they have there.
Yeah.
Hawaii, worth going to.
Would love to go. We're going to do it at some point. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have this house in the Keys because it's a place where, when we came down here for our first vacation in 2012, I literally was like, oh, this is the place I was meant to be living my entire life. Like, this is the place on the planet that I belong. So we live here, and if there's any place like on the planet that I wanted to go, this would be the place. All right. Jen is having recording difficulties. Jen just took out the cheese cube. While he was out, he discovered that howley was the term he was looking for the white dude who is not from Hawaii. I looked it up at the same time, and I agreed that is the term that the internet tells me is what you were, dear Dad. So good job for being the hardest working howley that your Hawaiian landscaper colleagues knew.
Yeah. So there you go. Hawaii. It's worth a trip.
Yeah, I would like to go, and like I said, I was saying the Keys are one of those places where it's like, I mean, it's the place for me where like we came and I was like, oh, this is where I should have been my entire life. I really found my place that felt like home instantly as soon as we came here the first time. So that's why we live here. So I like going on vacation here, even though it's like drive 10 miles up the road and go to a resort here.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii is 6 hours away, 6 time zones away. It's ridiculously far. This is closer.
Yeah.
Psychologically, too.
I would love to go to Hawaii. In our post-COVID travels, Austin, New Orleans, Las Vegas.
Our list is getting longer.
It keeps getting longer. So I'm fully vaccinated. It is...
So fancy.
I am. Today is March 20th, and Saturday, March 20th, and on Friday, March 19th, Governor DeSantis, who's a fucking idiot.
We hate
him so much. But he announced on Friday, to everyone's surprise, as everything with COVID has been, that people over 50 would be allowed to be vaccinated on Monday.
Me. That's totally me. That I mean, no discussion. I'm totally over 50.
Every other state has like a list of priority groups and tiers and whatever.
Oh my God.
In Florida, it's just like when Governor DeSantis organizes the next group, that's what the next group will be, and we'll let you know what it is when he decides.
And it's been like donors to Governor DeSantis first.
It's so much bullshit.
Old people and donors
so
for a long time.
Literally was 65 and over, and medical workers who dealt directly with COVID patients, and that was it.
But not even medical workers who didn't. Like, it was a whole gray zone there.
It was terrible. And it still is like that. If you're a frontline medical worker and you're not generally directly dealing with COVID patients, you can't have a vaccine unless you're old enough. It's entirely age-based.
Or like a firefighter or like a police officer. No, DeSantis is like, not enough money in it for me. Sorry, not enough money.
In any case, he announced Friday, to everybody's surprise, because it had been 65 and older for quite a while, and then like last week they're like, okay, 60 and over, and then the demand wasn't especially high, and so he's like, okay, 50 and over as of Monday.
I'm just making this shit up, says DeSantis.
So on Friday morning, he's like, I'm signing an executive order today that as of Monday, anybody over 50 can get the vaccine. So I was like, that is GR Dad. I'm getting a vaccine for him. And, the Keys are very, as we've mentioned, very small. The population of the entire Keys, which includes all of the Everglades and then all of the Florida Keys, that's Monroe County, 75,000 people total for the whole county, which is, in terms of land mass or whatever area that it covers, is huge. But as a small number of people, we have not nearly enough vaccines for all the people who want it down here, as is true of Miami-Dade, Broward County, over by Naples.
Right, for the opposite reason, right? They have too many people, but, what are you going to do?
All of South Florida, every place that gives vaccines is booked.
We're not politically interested. Interesting.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's because we're liberal compared to DeSantis.
And poor,
So all of South Florida has their vaccine sites booked. So we found a place like in
Tampa,
out like an hour east of Tampa.
Sorry, between Tampa and Orlando. It's like
close to Central Florida.
There might be alligators there.
There are definitely
There
alligators
could be
there.
alligators there.
Is it Lakeland, Florida? It's not
No,
Lakeland, but
it's like some Auckland or freaking Oakland or something.
Anyway, I found a Publix
I don't know.
pharmacy that had spots open on Tuesday. Monday, vaccines open for people over 50. There was an open slot on a Tuesday. So I'm like, dear Dad, you're flying to Tampa and then driving it, or you're flying to Orlando, driving an hour and a half to this Publix to get your vaccine in like the evening on Tuesday.
I'll be like, are you an alligator or a crocodile? Do the teeth go up or down? Is the
Pointy
snout
nose or curvy
pointy
nose?
or curvy? Because I can't tell. You're in the middle of nowhere.
God, it's such a mess.
It is like meadows or something. It's like weird oaks.
It's the
a
middle of
weird
nowhere.
name. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the middle between Tampa and
But they're like, once you,
Orlando.
if you look at any, I mean, and I was like inching my way up, right? I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Miami-Dade, which is the next county like above the Keys,
Nice
everything's
try.
booked. Over on the Gulf side, everything's booked. Okay, let's go up to Palm Beach County. Everything is booked. On the Gulf side, everything is booked. Like I'm inching my way up. St. Lucie, that's like a 5.5 hour drive from here. Everything is booked in St.
Yeah.
Lucie County. So you really have to get like halfway up the state.
This is like a 6-hour drive from here. I think.
Like
6 or 7.
6:45.
Yeah.
Almost 7 hours.
That's right. 6.5 without traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like it's easier and more reliable to fly to Orlando, rent a car, and drive, which is like stupid that we can get it because we have the resources for GR Dad to, you know,
We have
whatever.
miles. We
played
miles.
with miles.
Resources, miles. It equals miles.
I have a lot of airline miles
And
to
points.
fly GR Dad to Orlando, rent him a car so he can drive an hour and a half to get a vaccine, book him a hotel on miles overnight. It's stupid, but whatever. You're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
This is not one of the
super
questions
excited.
of the first date thing, by the way. We would not be dating yet if you were
No.
like just discoursing into like vaccine talk, blah, blah, blah.
Zoom date. Zoom date about vaccines.
I'm sorry about the Zoom date thing that people have to go through.
I
That
mean, you're the
sucks.
problem. I'm fully vaccinated.
I'm interesting. Shut up.
I could date somebody who had their vaccine.
You said it's quantity over quality, so all I got is quality. Sorry, quality. I got no quantity.
How about this one? What's your favorite app on your phone?
Green. Oh, I'm sorry. What? The 23? No, it's
Favorite app on your phone?
I fail again. You know, well, interesting. It's been.
Yeah.
Is this even an app? Do I even have an app?
Uh-oh.
Twitter has been a favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a whole, because I get weird. It's a weird thing to get curated news,
Yeah.
but news from Twitter. Mm-hmm. And now TikTok, because you're on TikTok. Yay!
You like TikTok even if I weren't on it.
Nah, I like it.
I
'cause
was
you're
your
on it.
gateway drug to TikTok.
Totally. Yes,
Yeah.
I totally admit that. You're my gateway drug to many things, like good food,
That's
you know,
good.
dogs, many dogs.
Lots of dogs.
I had a
multiple
dog
dogs.
before. She was
You
the
had
best.
one dog. She was great.
She was the best.
Now you have 6 dogs.
Also the best. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I gotta say TikTok maybe.
Twitter is good in terms of giving you a lot of information if you follow the right people.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, if like a meteorite is gonna hit the Earth, I think Twitter is gonna tell me with
For sure.
with the people that I follow. Right, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I rely on that for up to date news and yes, take on the news, but also news.
Yeah.
So I still think Twitter is very useful.
What is the silliest fear you have?
Silliest fear?
Yeah. I don't actually know this answer for you. A lot of these I feel like I could answer for you.
What about you? You can't just ask me. You got to be.
I'm
dating.
afraid of bugs with lots of legs or that are abnormally large.
Which is good because it's a silliest fear, right? That like they won't hurt you probably.
No, like those millipedes that are like the size of your forearm, like they don't hurt you. They don't bite or anything, but I'm fucking terrified of them.
Those aren't here.
No, you know where they are? Goddamn Hawaii. They have. Oh, yes. I have watched like the HGTV buying Hawaii. And if you go on the right island, they put like freaking tape traps down like in the doorways and like under your garage door. Oh yeah, because they got those millipedes in Hawaii.
They found one, and they're using it for all those HGTV
oh no,
shows.
I remember it very clearly. There were a bunch of them stuck on those tape things.
Nah, they were all like fake.
Nope.
Worms. They were fake. Fake worms. Well, I lived there for 3 months, and they were like
It depends on the island that you're on. They're not on every island.
I saw geckos.
Yeah,
that was
no,
cool.
It depends on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are terrifying. What was the question?
Strangest fear, silliest fear that you have.
Oh, like it's like everything's gonna be a disaster and everything's terrible, and I'm just like a pessimist, and it's terrible.
That is definitely your fear.
The fear is that nothing will work out and everything will be uncertain. Yes. That's a psychological thing.
What would be your best city to live in? And let's exclude Washington, D.C. or the Florida Keys from the list. If you had to move someplace other than D.C. or the Keys.
Sydney, Australia.
Oh, that's a good one. I'd follow you to Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia is beautiful in the sense that San Francisco is, that Seattle is. Like there's deep water, there's blue skies. It's a port city. The scenery is amazing. And it's got like diverse neighborhoods, and it's like, I don't want to say like Seattle or like San Francisco, but it's got conservative crap, and it's got liberal crap, and it's got like all sorts of stuff. Sydney is very cool. Melbourne thinks it's cooler, but it's more nerdy. Like Melbourne is more establishment, Commonwealth, British, royal, stiff upper lip. Melbourne is good, and they have some very good neighborhoods now, and they're very cool. But Sydney is cooler. Sydney has surfers. Sydney has Bondi Beach, and Sydney has, the Opera House and the harbor, and it's cool.
See, I don't know anything about this.
I would do Sydney. I would one city in the whole world where you could live. I'd live in Sydney.
All right, I'd follow GR Dad to Sydney for sure. If GR Dad were dead and I had to pick, I probably wouldn't leave the U.S. because I don't know.
Fair enough. Go to San Francisco.
New
Very
Orleans.
Close. Oh, that's better. San Francisco is more like Sydney. New Orleans is more like New Orleans. Like
it's really its own thing.
It's its own thing, yeah.
Like I love the culture. We've been to New Orleans a lot.
Yeah.
I really love it. Like I love like the really unique feel of it. It's very much its own place. I love anywhere that's got a lot of like live music. I mean, this is the thing, like Key West, New Orleans, Nashville, Austin.
Live music is very good.
Like really good live music, and it's really part of the culture, and it's everywhere. It's different in all those places, Key West and Nashville and Austin and New Orleans, but it's everywhere, and it's really part of the culture. Like that's great. The food is really interesting. I mean, that's true in all four of those places. I mean, I could live in all four of those places. Like we're here in the Keys, but New Orleans, Nashville, Austin. I have friends who have moved to Austin who are like, not sure, right? Like it's definitely Texas.
It's Texas, which is the problem. But Austin
it's an enclave
is
in
so
Texas.
Cool, and
right.
They have the capital there, though. There's so many terrible people there.
It's a real mix.
Yeah, but the Austin part of Austin is
fucking
so good.
love Austin. Nashville was really surprised by, like, thought it was going to be fine and fucking loved it. But I think New Orleans, like, if you were like, you can't live in DC, you can't live in the Keys, I'd be like, find me a place in the Garden District. Like, I'm moving to New Orleans. Like, I really love the culture of New Orleans.
Totally, yeah, that's right.
If
you can't live in Honolulu and you can't live in Sydney, live in New Orleans.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what household chore is just the worst? The worst.
Wait, the worst?
The worst. That's what it says on this list.
I love household chores.
The worst.
They're the best. I think the worst household chore is like doing work. The work from home is sucked ass.
Yeah. Neither of us really minds. Like,
what's the worst for me? I don't know.
There's nothing that I
scrubbing
hate.
Pans with like the
burnt queso.
Yeah, with like burnt egg or burnt queso. That's hard.
I'm sorry, I do that all the time.
So what? They're delicious foods. What are you talking about?
That's the thing. Like,
we have
I
a
think
deal.
I think about like the household chores. Like, if I have to scrub toilets or scrub the plants, like none of it's all that bad.
Nah,
No,
it's
we
fine.
don't mind household chores.
I mean, I pick up the dog's poop. I clean. We pick up the dog's poop.
They're mostly you.
We clean out the pots and pans. It's fine. What's like? Chores are good. You're moving things forward. It's productive. It's fine. It's good. It's good.
What country do you never want to visit? I have such a long list of countries I don't want to visit.
I think you said China, and I'm sort of on board with that. I think I would draw the line at I don't want to go to China right now. It's just like fucked.
I feel like that too. Not that there aren't amazing things in China. Like, I also don't want to go to India, and I fucking love the food. I love the culture.
I would go to parts of India. Like, it would be a rough trip in some ways, right? It's like a real culture clash to go there, but I think it'd be worth the interesting culture clash.
Yeah, I mean, India over China.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes,
but for me, it's just like when I go someplace, I want to not have to worry about certain things. And I feel like India and China, they have different things, but are both on the list of like, it would make me feel like it was a hard trip.
Russia would be bad too. I mean,
I
for
would not go to
reasons,
Russia.
I think Russia is right out. Actually, fucking Russia. Fuck Russia.
Russia.
Sorry, people in Russia, but your government sucks.
You are absolutely right. So I've actually told my speakers bureau, like, I don't do a ton of international speaking outside of COVID times. I've gone to Korea. I've gone to the UK. Like, I've done a few international events, but not a lot. But I've been like, hey, absolutely not Russia or China. Like, they're on the list where it's like, if someone wants me to come.
Voodoo.
Where is he?
Outside.
Oh. If they're going to pay me a stupid amount of money, I still don't want to go to Russia or China. Russia for obvious political reasons, and then China because of the level of digital surveillance. You know, as a privacy expert, knowing what they do with digital surveillance in terms of like monitoring all your interactions and doing stuff in China, like really not comfortable with that. My hesitations on India are nothing cultural like that. It's much more just like there's such a stark contrast of like the way that we travel with the poverty that you encounter in the cities. Like, that's a difficult thing to deal with, and I think would be in a lot of other places, but like we haven't traveled to Jamaica or other countries where there's this like really stark difference in the economic situation of tourists versus locals. But I feel like that's something that really manifests itself in India that doesn't sound super fun to me. And I don't really know how to deal with in a smart way. So it's a little bit different than China or Russia, where it's more of a political decision. All right, Giordad has just picked up a red stripe. Hooray, beer!
Hooray, beer!
Okay, you ready for the next question on the list? I'm not actually going linearly through the list.
Are we doing 9 hours or just 3?
We're on question 50 out of 116.
Wait, we didn't do 50.
I've skipped some.
I'm not completely math cognizant, but that's not been 50. We've had like 3 questions. Get the F out of here.
What has been the best period of your life so far? I'm going to say now. I keep trying to make it better.
Being with you has been the best period
That's
of my
right,
life.
it has.
Absolutely.
Okay, independent of me.
End of story.
Oh, okay, all right.
No,
good.
that's it. I mean, physically, I liked my 20s physically because I was like in good shape and I was like, buff.
You were real buff.
That was the 80s, so I was buff. But now is pretty freaking good. You're awesome.
You're awesome too.
What am I going to say? Yeah.
What's expensive but totally worth it?
Champagne.
I would also say champagne.
Champagne is like expensive. It's not that expensive if you buy it not in a restaurant. It's not even that expensive. Expensive.
So I'm sure we've talked about this, but just to kind of put the background, since this is like a 3-hour podcast, You know, I didn't grow up drinking wine at all. GR Dad did. I didn't. And I remember, like, after I got my job where I had a tiny amount of disposable income, talking to Dave, a friend of mine who is on the faculty, and being like, Dave, you drink wine. I would like to learn about wine. Like, what do I do? He's like, I don't know, man. Just like drink some wine. I was like, this is not fucking useful.
That's the best advice, though, because it's like,
It's true.
it's not talk about wine, it's drink wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like that's too big. You know, I want to be able to like look at a list and pick a thing and like understand what I'm doing. So I was like, all right, I need to be more narrow than just like wine. So I'm like, champagne. Like, I like champagne. I like stuff that's fizzy. I'm going to learn everything about champagne. And the really nice thing is, like, if you go out to dinner at a restaurant that has a sommelier and you go, I don't know a lot about champagne, but I'm trying to learn about champagne. What can you tell me? Like, I just want to learn some stuff and I don't know a lot. They are so excited to tell you about champagne.
Which may be a life hack about everything.
It may be.
But certainly champagne and wine.
When I started on this, I was like, okay, so I'm going to learn all about champagne. We went to Volt, which is Brian Voltaggio's restaurant in Frederick, Maryland, which seems like way out of the way. It's like 45 minutes outside of D.C.
But it's like halfway to Gettysburg.
Yeah, he was on, you know, some Food Network shows. He's got sort of celebrity chef status. And his restaurant, it since has closed and rebranded itself as something else. Like, he still owns the space, but he revamped it. But Volt was like great. There was like a table 21 where you'd sit around like this curved bar around the kitchen, and
that
you
was
get
so good. You could watch the chefs do
21
stuff.
courses, you know, little courses. Each one's like a bite.
So good.
It was so good. And so the first time we went to dinner there, and anytime you go to like a really high-end restaurant like that, you know, where they have a Michelin star kind of close to that, they've got a good sommelier. And so I was like, look, I'm trying to learn a lot about champagne. I don't really know what I'm doing yet. You know, do you want to recommend something? Do you have any advice? I mean, that guy spent like half an hour with us going.
He
like,
was so like, he was a little broy, but he was like super knowledgeable about like, this thing does this, and I feel this way about this, and he was so knowledgeable.
But like, if
sharing.
the bottle says NM, it means this. Like, you want to look for RM, which is like recombinant something. Like, I don't even know the terms in French yet. But like, this is a grower producer. That's what you want to look for, because that's going to be interesting stuff. And like, NM means this.
This is a special club.
Here's where it is.
They're competing with something. Yeah, no, it's so good.
And I was really like, give us a bottle. Like. Mm-hmm. Tell us what to buy. And so he brings us a bottle. And so we've got this bottle of champagne. I was like, this is really good. Oops, your bottle's going to fall over there, Dad.
Kabam.
You can just put it on the table. You don't
Gravity.
have to. Dad's always worried about putting stuff on the table during the podcast, so he balances it on all kinds of weird stuff.
It's a complicated process.
Yeah. So we're at Vault, and the guy brings us a bottle. So we're drinking the bottle, and then he's like, I just opened this bottle of Villemar for somebody else. I think you'll really like this. And so he like pours us extra glasses of this other champagne. And I was like, this is exactly what I want things to taste like. And he's like, so if this is the thing you like this is the thing you want to ask for. And you just do that 5 or 6 times at a restaurant with like a good sommelier. And you're like, you know, I had a Villemar at Volt, and like, that was really great. And I tried this other thing and it wasn't. Like, you just, you know, you write it down and go like, according to my notes, like, I liked this thing and not that. They teach you all this stuff.
Talking to people about their passion will let you they'll share their passion with you. I mean, they're like they love it. It's their passion, right? That's what they do. And sommeliers are passionate about wine and champagne, and they love sharing their stuff with you. I mean, it's a thing, right? If you're not a dick to them, and if you say, I would like to enjoy what you enjoy, they'll share with you. It's really cool.
And they'll do it within your budget too, right? So like for the champagne stuff, I've been like, here's what I like. Tell me what to drink. Like, I don't care what it costs. Like, they're not going to give us a $10,000 bottle of wine, right?
They're not snobs or dicks about it. They want to share the good stuff that they know, right?
But if you're like, look, my budget is, if you're going to a restaurant, wine's obviously more expensive. So you go, $150 is my budget. What can I have? They'll be like, great. Because there are really good bottles that you can get for less than $100, even at a restaurant, right? Which means you'd pay 30 or 40 for them if you bought them retail.
This one tastes more like rock. This one tastes more like sweet. This one tastes more like cherry. This one tastes more like... What do you like? Do you like strawberry? We have this. How about this one? It tastes like hemp. I mean, I don't know. They're like... They know the stuff. They love it. They love it. And they're not price focused. The good ones, right? There could be dicks. I don't know. There could be dicks that be like, well, I don't know that under $1,000, I won't do it. But they're usually into the substance of it. And they like the flavor and they like sharing and they like being... sharing the whole process with everyone.
I mean, we have gone to 1, 2, and 3 Michelin star restaurants and ordered champagne in all of them, the fanciest restaurants in the world, and ordered champagne from the sommeliers. And no one has ever tried to sell us $1,000 bottle of wine. We've spent a few $100s on a bottle of wine where we know that it's something like super exciting and super interesting and rare or special. And, we've set aside the money to like really indulge on this dinner, but no one's tried to fleece us. And if we ever have gone like, this is what we're looking to spend, like every sommelier knows that's an issue because there are, bottles of wine that cost $10,000. And so they understand that, not everybody can buy everything. So you tell them what you want to spend and they'll tell you something great in that space. So yeah, we've spent money on champagne, but it's been totally worth it and really interesting. And now we know what to buy at home. But also Comey, which is one of the fancier restaurants, they have a Michelin star in DC that we go to. They're like, so we ordered this special bottle of something. It's not on the menu, but we ordered it because we knew you were coming in.
The guy only made 10. We have 2 of them.
And we saved one for you. We didn't put it on the menu because we don't want anybody else to order it. We saved it for you because we knew you'd be coming. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, if you go to a place and you tell them you love something, they'll want to give you something that you love because they're nice people and they want you to be happy.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily... That's right. It's not necessarily just at these super high-end places. So Haleo, which we used to go to all the time, is a middle-priced restaurant.
Like Spanish comfort food, really, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But they would be like, oh, we know you guys like this thing. And so we made sure, this thing's not on the menu, but we know you'll like it, so we've just brought it to you.
That's right. Here's some more, into cheese bread or something, or it's
but
it's
the
delicious.
ramps, or oh, we know you guys liked those mushrooms and mashed potatoes when they were on the menu, and they're not on the menu anymore. But we had a few extra mushrooms, and so the chef in the back just made this up because we know you like it. If you're really clear about stuff that you love, and you tell people that, and you're a regular at a place, they're gonna. They want to make you happy.
The whole food and beverage industry is like your mom. They just want you to be happy. They're do stuff to make you be happy. They're oh, I remember you like mushrooms. I'm going to make a buttload of mushrooms and I'm going to make you like it.
Yeah.
I remember you liked mashed potatoes when you were 3. I'm going to make you mashed potatoes every freaking meal. They're a little excessive about it. It's a little algorithmic. Perhaps there might be an algorithm.
Your dad's more... I don't know, cynical than I am.
But they want to make you happy, right? They want to give you stuff that makes you happy. And if you seek advice from anyone in the food services, they will try to make you happy.
If you go to a place that really cares about making people happy, right? So you don't even have to...
Fair enough.
I mean, I think, frankly, if you're a local at the diner around the corner from you and you're going in there enough...
if they know...
They're this guy really likes pancakes with raspberry syrup on them. They're going to bring you the raspberry syrup.
Because it makes them happy to make you happy. It's a whole human thing. Yeah. Cool. Voodoo.
Voods is making sounds at Manchego, who's punching him with his face. You don't have to intervene, Dear Dad. They're okay, Dear Dad. You can tell Dear Dad said a few drinks by the nonsensical sounds that he's making. Okay, let's see.
I make nonsensical sounds sober too. There you go.
That's true. You just make more of them when
Indeed.
you've had some drinks. What small, seemingly insignificant decision has had a massive impact on your life?
Oh my God, is this a first date thing?
Yeah, this is from the first date list. I don't think I've got one of these.
Loving you.
Oh,
That wasn't small and insignificant. But
No, I
yeah.
can think of decisions that have had massive impacts on my life, but most of them seemed significant at the time.
Small? No, this is a bullshit question. It's a bullshit question.
Okay, moving on. That's why I've skipped a lot of these. If you lived to 100,
Oh,
would you rather keep the body or the mind of yourself at 30?
mind.
Oh,
If I have the body of myself at 30, but not the mind, it's useless. It's worthless. It's nothing.
yeah, I agree.
I gotta have the mind. I'd rather have the shitty, decrepit, the shitty body. And,
He's drinking out of the bowl. This is the first time that
no, the mind is most important, right? You can,
I agree.
You can lose your body, and I'd like to be a head in a freaking formaldehyde bucket.
Before you make a call, dude,
What the fuck?
it's Vood's.
Voodoo is a menace.
He's a big, giant pinto bean.
I'm gonna let him out.
That's fine. It seems what he wants.
Jerk.
Pinto bean. Okay, we've let out the pinto bean.
He doesn't like us. He just likes the accommodations, and now he wants to be out on the porch.
Before you make a call, do you rehearse what you're going to say?
Oh my God, yes.
Do your dad
phone
always,
call
right?
with
Yeah.
humans, with peoples?
Yeah.
I write it down. Are you kidding? Rehearse? I like write down the number, the ID number. Yes. Oh, frick, yes.
I do not.
Oh my.
I mean, I sometimes will think through, but I don't rehearse.
Oh well, I over rehearse.
What was the last time you sang to yourself or someone else? I'm pretty sure I did that on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean they're dogs, so we do sing to the dogs.
Yep.
We do sing to each other goofy stuff. It's not like a whole song. It's just like dip 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 dip
His
dip.
name is Vood. He's quite a mood. I love that dude.
Yeah,
Who's
I mean,
somewhat
it's-
rude.
It's like goofy little, stuff. Yeah.
If you knew you were going to die in a year, what would you change about how you live?
I might die in a year, and I don't think it'll change in the way how I live.
Mm-hmm.
Work less, fun more.
Yeah. Same.
Fuck yeah.
I try to do the minimal amount of work given the possibility that I'm going to die in a year while allowing us to make enough money to do awesome, epic shit.
Although COVID has fucked with this whole equation, right? It's made the die in a year thing more real,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
But it's also made it harder to be more complacent about the just living in my life, doing
Yeah.
my thing, going my 7-Eleven, whatever. Yeah. So
All right.
I don't know. It's been a complicated year.
Best and worst flavor ice cream.
Oh, I like vanilla. Fuck that. I like vanilla.
I like vanilla too.
Yeah, well,
But I'll say for me, best flavor ice creams are liquor flavored ice creams. I love an Irish cream flavored ice cream.
that's pretty good.
They used to have Ben and Jerry's used to have a flavor called White Russian. God, I love that. They used to make these things, I think they still make them, called Chillos, which is sort of like a blended coffee drink. And they had a Russia Chillo, which is like White Russian ice cream and coffee and ice blended into a shake thing, a Russia Chillo.
Commie bastards.
good.
They're just such
I'm not allowed
commies.
to say that.
But you like the mudslide thing too that they had.
Any ice cream flavor.
Dublin mudslide.
Dublin mudslide, yeah. When they
Totally.
stopped, White Russian was dead, but they had Dublin mudslide, which was like Bailey's flavored. Any kind of liquored flavored ice
Kinda
cream.
like a
I'm
brown
fan.
Russian.
You like vanilla.
Was it not brown Russian? Brown Russian.
Bailey's, it would not be a brown Russian.
It was brown.
I mean, it's brown. A White Russian's brown too. So
Was
what
the
the
Dublin
fuck?
mudslide brown?
It was brown.
It was brown. It's a brown Russian. Totally brown Russian.
All modesty aside,
I'm sorry, Ben and Jerry's. I have more ideas for names for your crap mix. Brown Russian.
there's a Black Russian.
Yeah, well, this
the
is
thing.
brown. Sorry, it's not black.
All modesty aside, what are you better at than 90% of people? It doesn't have to be useful or serious. It can be something ridiculous.
I don't know, naming dogs. That's pretty good. We're pretty good at it.
We're really good at naming dogs.
Let's not kid. We're good.
We're so good.
So good.
So good.
Oh.
How much personal space do you need to be comfortable?
Less than you, more than touching.
I am sometimes like, dear Dad, I love you, but I need a little more space.
Why
Could
don't
you
you
please
go
stop touching me?
Why don't you go to Key West?
That's
17
not
miles.
true.
17 miles away.
Could we be like 8 inches apart?
17 miles away. I have decorated a whole room that has a door that closes away from you, Ingo.
That's for like working. That's different than like the personal space I need.
Stay away, stiff arm.
All right. What's the most interesting fact you know?
What now?
The most interesting fact. I will
Oh my
say
God.
Mine is very clearly
Go ahead.
Benford's Law.
Oh, well.
Been on TV about it. If you missed episode 4 of Connected on Netflix, Benford's Law is that in many naturally occurring systems, if you look at the first digit of whatever you can measure, so say the area of all the lakes on the planet, or the length of all the rivers on the planet, or the number of followers.
Or your credit card numbers.
I don't know if it would work for credit card numbers.
Totally would.
It would not.
I'm
Number of friends that you have on social media. If you look at the first digit, so if you have like 143 friends, 143, 1 would be the first significant digit, the first digit in there. There's a law that says how frequent that would be, and it's not evenly distributed. So ones are going to be about 31% of all the numbers, and then it has a smooth decomposition to the point where 9s are about 5% of the numbers. It occurs in all sorts of natural systems. You can use it in court as evidence of
Wait, the
accounting
question
fraud.
was interesting, not boring.
It's interesting enough that there's an episode of Connected on Netflix about it. So
It's really good. You should watch it. It's fucking awesome. It has the dogs and Jen.
yeah, the dogs are in it. So I did the work that proved that it worked on social networks and that you can use it to detect bots in some cases. And they put me on Netflix to talk about it.
Yep.
That's the most interesting fact I know. I proved it, and it's true, and it's awesome. What
Yeah.
about you, GR Dad?
I know nothing. I had a fact, and I forgot about it. I forgot it already.
What is the most interesting fact you know, GR Dad?
Don't know.
You don't know anymore.
Don't know anymore.
I feel like we're giving your 2 beers and 2 pitchers of sangria getting to the end of the podcast.
That's just what you observed.
Okay, what's your favorite smell?
Ooh, after it rains, I think the wet dirt.
Oh, that's a good one.
The wet dirt after the rain. Yeah, that's really nice.
Mine is the top of a dog's head after they've been out in the sunshine.
That's good. The
Sunshine dog head.
dog head smell is really good. It's like a
really
little
good.
salty. It's a little bit like, oh, it's good. It's good.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's
Yours
a good
is
one.
good too. What machine or appliance in your house aggravates you the most?
Aggravates.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the machines and appliances. I think they're all doing awesome jobs.
It's
I don't
true.
think there's anyone who pisses me off.
What's the worst advice someone has given you?
Ugh.
When I was in undergrad,
Go ahead.
there were GRE subject tests. I'm sure they still exist.
GRE
So you
is
can
so
take-
like a thing.
You can take the GREs, but then there were subject tests. So there's like a computer science GRE, there's a math GRE.
These are graduate. After you
Yeah.
graduate the first 4 years, right? I took the LSAT, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't take the GRE. So this is like subject matter
Yeah.
graduate examinations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that I took those, but I took the regular.
Schools require this, or no? What do
Yeah,
you think?
schools.
Yeah.
It's getting to be less, which is an interesting debate because, of course, they have racial bias in them, like all standardized tests do. At the same time, like for me, they also show something, right? Like my GRE scores were much better than my grades.
Because you're smart.
'Cause they
and
show-
It's like the freaking kick ass.
That like I understand analytic ability that may not be reflected in my grades, like you can see it in these standardized tests.
Professors of Chicago are dicks.
Well, I mean, maybe, but so I've been in this weird position where like I get that there's bias in the GREs, So you don't want to hold it against someone necessarily if
But they
get
work
a low
in your
scar.
favor.
But there are lots of people who have had educations where their GPAs or their course grades may not reflect their abilities that are captured in them. And so like
Yeah.
you want to kind of give people the benefit. If they do well on the GREs, that says something.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
But
it's
if they
like the
do-
SATs. If they do well on the SATs, that's probably good.
Yeah, but if you do poor on the SATs,
That
it doesn't
doesn't mean
necessarily
anything.
mean that you're bad.
I
Right?
totally agree, and it makes a difference. It's a big difference. Yes.
So I took the GREs and I got there's 3 areas. There's analytic, math, and writing. And they're each out of, at least when I took it, they were each out of 800. And I got an 800 on the analytic,
Nice.
a 740,
Freaking big brain on Jen. Yeah.
740 on the math, and I mean I did well on the writing, but it doesn't matter for computer science what your writing score is. But I got 740 on the math. And I talked to a professor who I won't name because he's got a sort of popular blog in the area. He was at the University of Chicago, and I was like, so I'm really interested in going to grad school. And he's like, with a 740 on the math, I'm not really sure you're going to be able to get into a good grad school. And like, a 740 is a fucking awesome score.
Is he still in professorship?
Yeah, yeah. I think, I hadn't done especially well in this class. I think he didn't like me. And he's like, you're not really going to get in. And I got into the University of Maryland, which is like a top 10 CS graduate program.
You and I need to talk. I just want to talk. I just want to explore this thing.
All the
We just need
faculty
to
at
talk.
Chicago were just like the spring semester of my last year of my graduate program. I was like, I just want to make sure I'm doing okay because I got into College Park and, I just want to make sure my scores were okay. And they were like, you got into College Park?
I just would like this guy's contact information.
All right.
No, really. I would like to talk to
I know
him.
you would. All right, dear Dad. I feel like we're reaching the end of your podcast abilities here.
What are you even? You're projecting. I think you're projecting your own inadequacies onto me because I'm full on going.
I'm projecting my alcohol consumption abilities onto your alcohol consumption and feeling like
Well, that's your mistake. There's your first mistake.
maybe we should wrap it up here.
Oh my God, I've taken care of dogs.
You've done a great job.
I've been articulate. I've been drinking beer. I would like to drink a
have.
little bit more beer.
Yep. That's part of why I'm thinking we should wrap things up.
Do we have 3 hours? Because people will have been in line for 3 hours to get their vaccinations.
I think we're solidly
Wasn't this the whole
Yeah.
nugget that we started this whole podcast with the nugget that we wanted to service?
I think we're solidly into the second hour.
So, that's not 3 hours.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The math does not add up.
Okay.
The limit does not exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to give you one last question then.
Shit. Oh, go ahead. I mean, sorry. I will prepare.
If you unexpectedly won $10,000, what would you spend it on?
A ring for you.
Oh, that's nice, but I already have one of those.
The
You gave
second
that
one.
to me when we got engaged.
We have to get ours engraved, by the way. We have.
my God,
we've
never
been
done
talking
that.
about engraving our rings
For
The
6 years.
The inside of our rings, it's been freaking awesome. In Germany, you wear your rings on the other side until you're married.
Mm-hmm.
You get you don't have an engagement ring. You wear like the wedding ring on the other side, and you pretty much just put in your wedding date and the other dude or lady into the ring. So my ring would say, Jennifer Goldbeck, whenever our date was
14.
7/7/2014. Yeah, be cool.
Why haven't you done that?
Because I want it to be more cool. It could be more epic. We've
been having a conversation
Oh my
since
goodness!
before we got
I
married.
would love to have something engraved in there. Yeah.
Me too. And we go, we should really get these engraved. And we're like, yeah, what should they say? And then we're like, we should really get these engraved.
I think the good thing is we both know that we're gonna stay married until we figure this out, so we can just postpone the discussion until we get never.
Yeah.
And we're still gonna stay married. It's
That's
gonna be good. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
I like it. We should
But
really
at some
do that.
point, oh shit! For Valentine's Day, I was gonna give you a certificate that says we should get our rings engraved. But I didn't.
Because
But it would have been a funny thing, and it would have been a thing you could have tangibly.
this year I was like, Dear Dad, last year you bought me this big fancy necklace, and I got you a rock from the backyard that I painted.
No, it was awesome. That was awesome, rock.
You did really love the rock, but I painted you a rock from the backyard.
By my bed. It's by my bed.
It is.
It sleeps next to my bed.
So I was like, this year in COVID times, maybe we should not do Valentine's Day presents.
You did this like a week before.
Like no, it was like a month before.
Oh no, it was like a week. It was too soon.
It's like we shouldn't do Valentine's presents, and Dear Dad's like, okay, no, totally cool. So we didn't do Valentine's presents, and then like a week later, he's like, here's this present I got you for not Valentine's Day. And then a week later, he's like, here's another present I got you for not Valentine's Day. Like literally on like Wednesday of this last week, like March 15th, he's like, here's another present that totally is not for Valentine's
Totally
Day.
not. It's a month later. How could you think? How could you imagine it would be for Valentine's
And I was like, I wonder if I should paint him another rock.
I guess you just win this relationship.
I don't know. I mean, you're the one getting presents, and I'm like, rock out of the backyard.
No, you win. You win this relationship.
All right. Well, we've done a long podcast, even though it may not have hit 3 hours. We've definitely expired at least one of our sobrieties.
Are you looking at me?
I am.
I can't even believe
you're
looking at me. Well, you and me, I could like dance around. I could drive right now.
You could not.
A kayak. Perhaps
You
a
could
kayak.
totally kayak.
Kayak with
Don't do that, though.
blinky lights.
It's dark out.
With blinky lights.
All right. Well, maybe we should just go get the Voods. And then...
The Voods is right here, right behind you. I've been carrying the Voods up because the elevator has a paint job.
You let him out like 20 minutes ago.
Nah, he's in there.
No, he's not. He's outside.
GTFO, open the
He's
freaking
inside.
window.
You opened the front door and he went out it. So...
All
I
right,
think we're gonna
well,
have to
I
go
better
get him.
check out the Voodoo Man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, we hope
Things are
this,
getting a little out of control here.
we hope this podcast kept you entertained while you waited for your vaccine.
Mock me all you want, Golbeck.
Yeah. One of us is sober, and it's not you.
Look, you're the boss. You can tell me whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. We're done with this podcast. So tell everybody. Until next time, don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Yeah, unless you're Vood, just bite whatever the hell you want because you're the Vood and you eat fish.
It's true.
That's for the next podcast, though.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.